Hey guys. This is part 6 of What If Naruto Revived the Uzumaki Clan and Was a Seal Master. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are paid, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 21. Gaara stared at the Sandaime at Sasuke with a cold glare that made the two men walking beside him shift uncomfortably. The old man was walking towards the large wooden shelter that had been set up by Yamato. Temari had told him what had happened in Iwagakure. She had told him that Kuratsuchi abused her upon learning that she may hold value to the emperor. This man had dared kidnap his sister when he had not been provoked. Some Kages had no moral compass. No, should he even pass that judgment on just Kages? The shinobi world was not a world ruled by good moral standards. Shinobi did everything to win. Anoki was still a product of this world, but it did not excuse his actions, not even a little. Every man did what he wanted. Anoki was not forced by anyone. He was old enough to determine what was wrong and what was right, and in this case, he had chosen the wrong route. A pity the shinobi who had been involved in the attack were probably all dead. Gaara would have had them sent to Sunagakure to pay for their actions. Of course, there was still the man who gave the order. "This is some hostile welcome to the summit, Kazekage," Anoki said in a lazy tone. Was he concerned about Sunagakure? Not even the least. Unless backed by Konoha, the village would not do anything against his village. It simply did not have the military muscles to carry out an attack. Admittedly, given the current situation, he too could not afford to be at war with them. Uzushio, no, the emperor was proving to be a stumbling block that he could not move as easily as he had thought. He would not have even bothered coming here had he been winning. Iwa had suffered massive casualties, but so did Kumagakure. The risk carried by these other people was that they could enter the battlefield. With the losses he has suffered, it would be most unpleasant. "It is not as if you don't deserve it," Gaara said in a measured tone. He was controlling his anger perfectly. He did consider that if he hadn't become good, his first reaction to seeing that Sasuke would have been to instinctively attack him. "I guess not," Anoki said with a shrug. "But you should not complain. My plan ended up in failure after the emperor took action. Whether you have failed or not does not change the fact that you attacked my sister. It does not, but nothing can be done. At the end of the day, you got your sister and I lost my granddaughter. Of course, you will be held accountable if I don't get her." There was nothing of her. She had not been completely erased. But there was nothing of her from the site she had been fighting Naruto. Rashi had been certain Naruto fled from the battle before he could finish her off, but she was still nowhere to be seen. There was the chance that the emperor took her. But Rashi could not confirm this. 1 second her body was there, and the next it was gone. "You can go to the emperor about that. You're quick to throw him under the bus. It is the truth, isn't it? He is the one who attacked your village. I am not simply throwing him out in the open. I just want you to know that we have yet to do anything against for what you did to us. I don't think you are in any position to do anything," Anoki said with a shrug. "But by your statement, I can conclude that you didn't take my granddaughter. I had been thinking perhaps you did. Then it must either be Konoha or Uzushio. Isn't ironic?" Anoki glared. He was now worried and saying someone would have to pay for Kuratsuchi, but he was still not going to easily accept anything in regards to his actions against Temari. This world was treacherous. What goes around doesn't always come back around, but this time, the trick he had tried to play on Suna had been pushed back at his door. It was a bitter pill to swallow, and he hated that he didn't have such a good position to be able to make demands. "We will talk at the summit, Kazekage. We have had a long journey," Anoki said. "We want to rest a bit. We have been at war, and it has been rather brutal," he finished with a deep frown. "I have heard and I cannot enjoy it," Gaara said in an honest tone. "Despite what I think of you, your men do not deserve to be caught up in an unnecessary war where they are just going to lose their lives." Anoki stared at the large shelter, ignoring Gaara. There were 5 more rooms surrounding it, each with the symbol of a great nation. This was in the middle of nowhere. Konoha had obviously prepared this just for the summit. It was indeed true that Konoha had a Mokotan user. They could not have done this so quickly without the use of ninjutsu. He motioned for his guards to follow him as he walked towards the room prepared for Iwagakure. The meeting would be held later during the day. He could afford to rest his mind and for a moment, not worry about an attack from the emperor. The island. Naruto was standing behind Karin, who was sitting behind her desk inside her study. Both his hands were inside of her t-shirt, fondling her breasts. She was not big, but he did not hate it. He has enjoyed the comforts of all sizes of breasts. The bigger rack did seem to stimulate the sexual urges a bit more, but with Karin, it did not matter. She was perfect just the way she was, even though she acted like a man at times, she was fine. She was his wife after all. He leaned over and started kissing her on the right side of her neck. Karin had her eyes closed, enjoying the chills that were sent through her spine. She wasn't fond of the idea of leaving her experiments to go play politics, but this was one part of her relationship with Naruto that she did not hate. Despite how cold and ruthless he was, her body always shivered with excitement whenever he caressed her. He was always gentle and knew how to please her. "Did you come here for this? I thought you had Temari to keep you company." She left, came back, and then left again. "But there is no one who quite pleases me as much as you do. If I please you that much, you wouldn't run off to sleep with other women. Must we all always bring that? Well, you are an unfaithful husband, why must we not talk about it? I doubt you have even stopped with your tendencies anyway. You say that Sannin did not influence you, but you certainly picked up his love for women." "Maybe," Naruto said. His tongue slid out of his mouth, and he ran it across her neck slowly and then on her cheek. "But you know I have been behaving since we officially married. I had my fun. But admittedly it did leave me with a bit of an appetite, but it is an appetite only you can fully satisfy. I'm sure Temari will not be happy hearing that." Naruto retreated slightly, but still kept his hands on Karin's breasts. She lifted her face to look at him. He smiled. "You wouldn't tell, would you? But even if you did, I'd deny it. You are rather good at that. I'm sure you've also denied responsibility for women who came to you with little blonde bastards." Naruto just smiled before capturing her lips. They were always smooth. There was nothing rotten inside of her mouth. The tongues playfully tagged for a couple of moments before Naruto pulled away. "Better stop before I get a little too excited," he said, straightening up. Karin frowned. "You bastard, you just came here to get me excited that then leave me like that." Naruto smiled happily. "I am your husband, I should leave you excited. When I return home, I'm also going to do the same to you and then keep you locked up with chakra chains so that you don't go anywhere to be satisfied," Karin said firmly. "Vengeful woman," Naruto said with a shake of his head. He shifted his body closer and sat on the desk, by Karin's right side, facing her. "I should have chosen to marry a more suitable woman." "Chosen?" Karin laughed. "You did not choose me. The Uzumaki chose for you. There was no one else born in the same year as you aside from me. Of course, you would have married someone older if you were given the option. Someone older would not give me such a hard time. They have experience in all parts of life and know what is expected of them. I like the maturity part of their brain. You young ones are just full of energy, and puffed up with so many emotions that confuses you. It can be frustrating at times." "Are you saying I am frustrating?" Naruto smiled. "Did I?" he asked rhetorically. "We are going to meet the other Kages later on. It should be fun. Once we have done that, we will see how things go. But Naori has informed me that Amegakure has started retreating. We should be ending this bloody sequence soon." Karin frowned. It only meant one thing: she would be returning to Yuzu far sooner than she liked. She enjoyed Naruto's presence, but she hated playing politics. She loved doing her experiments. She had agreed to marry him even when she knew what would be expected of her. The clan had stolen her away from Orochimaru, and then put her in this situation. But they had decided to offer her to the Emperor. The elders did at times treat Naruto like an outsider. She was the sacrifice given to him. They loved Yoshino. If things had gone their way, they would have made him emperor, but there wouldn't have been an empire without Naruto in the first place. "So you came for me." "I came to warn you to start preparing things. Next time I come here, it will be to fetch you if you have not returned," Naruto responded. "You really don't look pleased." "I'm really not." "Why?" "I don't want to play politics. It is just not me. I thought I could do it, but now that I am facing it, I don't really think I can do it." "You still don't have a choice," Naruto said with an expressionless look. "You treat me worse than your subordinates," Karin accused with a glare. "You allow them to do as they please, but you never give me any freedom. I must always tiptoe around the fine margins you set for me." Naruto raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Should you accuse me of such? I do give my subordinates some leeway, but whenever I call them for duty, they must always be ready to serve. But you have been locked up here in the last couple of years because of your choice. I didn't choose for you. I gave you the freedom," Naruto said. "But if you want, I can relieve you of some duties and have Haku perform them. Of course, I would still need you to avail yourself whenever you are wanted." "You'd reconsider?" Naruto smiled and leaned in. He cupped her chin and stared at those reddish eyes. It seems I am interrupting something," Kabuto announced with a smile as he walked into the study holding a stack of papers. Naruto lost his smile and straightened up. He watched Kabuto from the corner of his eyes. Once the former Otonin settled on a chair in front of the desk and placed the papers atop of it, he responded. "You have a bad timing," he said calmly. "How far goes your research?" "I had made some success with Orochimaru-sama. What I have needed to do is how your body would react to the cells. If to say, we are only implanting them on a portion of your body, there might be consequences of the part changing form. But if we are changing genetics, to infuse the cells with yours to make you a true Mokuton user, there are higher risks of death." "We wouldn't want me dying, would we?" "No. Are you using me as a test subject to see if you can alter a person's DNA without completely changing their appearances? You and Orochimaru collected many samples of various shinobi in an effort to create the perfect warrior who could be powerful and immortal." Kabuto pushed up his glasses. "You know about that?" He sounded surprised. "Of course I do," Naruto said with a wave of his right hand. "Why would I let you come here in the first place? You are not truly afraid of being killed by me. You just took the most logical option. With me, you hide from those who'd want to kill you and still continue to do your research. I even have prisoners you can use for your experiments. I didn't think you'd willingly offer me people. Some of them are murderers and rapists. They are just waiting to die. I should have killed them but left them alive to use as test subjects for my prison. Then? I would not lie to say I did not consider that," Kabuto said. Naruto shook his head. "Just make sure you are safe. I'll give you what you need." He stood up. "You heard me, Karin. Be ready when I return." "I get it," Karin grumbled. "Before you leave," Kabuto said, "you want to control the elemental nations, isn't it? The purpose of this war was to give you a pretext to enter these nations without fostering a declaration of war from the other nations. It also means you move without the need to invade them and have that history. You want to create a sustainable rule in which the Uzumaki will influence what happens in the shinobi world for future generations." "That is quite interesting," Naruto said in thought. Kabuto smiled. "You are not going to deny it," he said. "Is there a reason to do so?" "I guess not," Kabuto responded. "Are you not interested in the existence that is Zetsu? He is not human. Was he a human before? What gave his birth? From what we know, he calls himself the will of Madara, but that is questionable," Naruto said with a shake of his head. "I am interested. Find out what you can. We don't want his existence to continue." "Of course." Kabuto nodded and watched Naruto walk away from the study. After he was certain the Emperor was gone, he faced Karin and smiled. She was less hostile than the Emperor. Perhaps it was because they shared a common interest. "You thinking of something funny?" Karin asked with a stare. "The mark I was given was surely made so that I don't do anything. I don't even want to test what would happen if I do anything wrong. I can tell you." "I'm listening." "Your body will be incinerated." "That is an unpleasant thought," Kabuto admitted. "Shall we get to it?" "That is the reason you came here with those papers. I must admit, you and Orochimaru truly did some sick experiments. But I cannot go against the knowledge gained." Fire Country. Mei was sitting just in front of the small room she had been given, staring at the empty space ahead of her. She could feel the tension in the atmosphere. It was certainly not going to be a civil summit. She was meeting the other Kages for the first time, but she would have preferred to meet them under finer conditions than these. She had an issue with both Iwa and Kumo for threatening her village with war if they did not attack Yuzu. Mei hadn't even thought twice about it before burning the letter. There were some battles you did not fight. Yuzu had done nothing against them, even though they had helped in their destruction during the Second Shinobi World War. She would not ruin everything by becoming a traitor. Naruto was one person she didn't want to become her enemy. With everything he has done, you'd think twice about making him angry. Her eyes caught the sight of two Sanins walking towards her, the Godaima Hokage and the Toad Sage. Seeing them, she had no doubt on what they wanted to talk about with her. She still smiled nevertheless. Although she wanted to be allies with the Hidden Leaf, she was not going to say anything she was not supposed to say. "Mizukage Dano." Tsunade greeted cordially before sitting on the Mizukage's left side. Jiraiya remained on his feet, standing in front of the two with a watchful eye. "Hokage-sama." Mei responded quietly and turned to face Jiraiya. "Jiraiya," she said. "Masama." The Toad Sage responded with a nervous smile. He quickly brushed it off when Tsunade looked at him questionably. "We came here to talk about Naruto." "I assumed as much," Mei said. "He is just Naruto to you, to everyone else, he is the Emperor. Well, you watched him grow, you saw different sides of him as a child. Naruto is a former shinobi of the Hidden Leaf. I spent about 3 years traveling, training him, and in all these years he never revealed the true level of his strength. He never let slip of anything. I can't say he ever denied being part of the revived Uzumaki clan, but he always found a way to answer without answering the question. In the years I spent with him, these are things I learned about him. He loved his clan, he was smart, strong, and never answered questions personally in his present state of mind. He liked talking objectively, and I never knew he was a Fuinjutsu master only when we were concluding our training. Basically, he kept his thoughts to himself and never revealed anything he didn't want to reveal, Mei said. You understand why we are a little suspicious about his actions, Tsunade said. Everyone is suspicious, Mei said. Even she questioned his motives. She had experience staring at him. He was unreadable. His mind always looked like it was blank of any thoughts. What do you want to know from me? We want to know about your relationship with him and the Uzumaki. I don't have that much of a relationship with him to even talk about it. I don't generally talk to him but with other people. There was a proposal of a marriage, but that is something we are just looking at. The Uzumaki? I have no relationship with the Uzumaki. But you are still not allies, just trading partners. Yes. I have held out on that until after the war. Why? Because I want to see what their intentions are. You might be thinking because I have been around them lately something has been happening, but most conversations were not even about Kiri, but about the water country. Our daimyo has been on a war path with both Uzushio and the wave country. We have been working together to try to solve the issue without bloodshed. That is surprising considering that he has been spilling blood everywhere, Tsunade said. Not every situation can be solved by simply killing people. He is fighting a war here. In a war, you have to fight, and that is what he is doing, Mei said with a slight shake of her head. Of course, from what Haku had said, Naruto would have chosen force already. But the fact he was willing to change things to be more diplomatic spoke volumes about his character. Haku had said that he was being used as a filter to Naruto's sometimes extreme methods. That also reassured her a bit. Naruto was not unreasonable. Jiraiya was confident in this. He thinks logically. I'm sure there is a reason he is fighting the war in such a manner. He always did enjoy the good battle. In any case, Konoha would like to form a relationship with Kiri. We also wanted to know your position on the Emperor. I have no problems forming a relationship with Konoha, but this is not the appropriate time. I think it is, Tsunade said firmly. He is going to appear and there will be questions in which we want to pick sides with him, or not. We wanted to see which side you would pick. The side that is right, Mei said sternly. I will not make my decision because of pressure. I will decide what is best for my village and something that I can live with. Nobody is going to influence me to decide anything. This is why I have even played a game of wait and see with Uzushio. No, the Uzumaki Empire. What you don't understand is that there is a difference between the Uzumaki Empire and Uzushio. It was something that Naruto really doesn't explain, but you could only understand it once you grew closer. Naruto was basically the Empire. Nadashiko, the wave, were part of the Empire, including Yuzu. We have grown to learn this, but it does not change that Naruto sits at the top. It does not, Mei said. I will only discuss an alliance with Konoha on a proper time. I am also not willing to share the finer details about the Emperor. If he wants you to know everything, he will let you know. I cannot act against the trust they have put in me. Konoha. Shikaku's mask became a bit serious as Yuga walked into the office without her Umbu mask. She was not here as an Umbu but on the personal capacity the Sandaime had chosen. I'm glad you made time, Shikaku said. You made it sound as if it was serious. Shikaku nodded. It was indeed serious. What had the Sandaime Hokage done to him? This was a dangerous task that he was assigned. Even so, the old man must have really trusted Naruto to believe that once things were set for him, he would not betray their agreement. Perhaps the two had shared a much deeper and mutual relationship. The old man had kept most of his thoughts regarding Naruto to himself. It is, the Nara said. The Emperor was here. I'm sure you spoke to him. I did, Yuga said. He gave me everything and talked about your son and his thoughts about the agreement with Konoha. He did not sound particularly pleased about the proposed marriage. He was not pleased about being strong-armed into making such decisions. He also made sure to let me know that if Konoha went against him, there would be severe consequences. Naruto is powerful, and if he came here with plans to destroy this village, we would not escape unscathed. What do you propose? We don't force him into marriage, but say that one of his children will have to marry someone from a clan in this village. The Hyuga clan is the most powerful clan at the moment. We would need to talk to them about it. I'm sure if we do things this way, we will make things workable. If things go south at the summit? They won't, Shikaka said with confidence. But we must still take measures to defend ourselves in case things go wrong. That means studying more about his abilities and of those around him. But we must do this secretly because if he finds out, he will not be pleased. I don't know about getting involved in that. He has held his end of the bargain and went out his way to avoid battling Konoha. Not for a second do I doubt that he feels contempt for this village, but he has never been driven by anger. If Konoha gives him a reason, he will act on it. Naruto had made it absolutely clear that he didn't give a cent about Konoha, but it was his word they could bank on. I'm worried about the future. We don't know what will happen tomorrow and how the next Kage will handle things. We won't all be alive. And even if our future leaders do wrong, we still cannot say it is right for the leaf to be destroyed. We must always protect it. Being Umbu, it had never been about right or wrong. It was always about protecting the leaf and following orders. Ideals did not matter. What do you want me to do? Summit location. The table was small. The Kages sat a bit closer to each other with their guards standing behind them. The room was large with only a single window for some light. There were no other shinobi present. No one would even think about attacking here, not when it was the most powerful in action. Well, at least they were the most powerful shinobi, but there was now the Emperor. Tsunade still believed that the 5 Kages held more power than the Emperor. It would test the balance of things if Naruto held enough power to challenge them all. Everyone would feel threatened and they would tread carefully knowing the Emperor was watching. The Godaime Hokage glanced at the quiet Gaara who was sitting on her right hand a bit further. The Mizukage sat on her left side, Anoki just across her. This meeting would be basically the other 3 against the 2 who were at war with Uzumaki. As the ones who called the meeting, Konoha will take charge. Do any of you have any problems? Tsunade asked in a Hokage tone. Let us just get this over with. We are at war and the Emperor can attack while we are sitting here, I said with impatience. The Emperor assured us he would not attack during the summit, Gaara said. He could at least trust that Naruto would not go back on his word unless these 2 do something that would provoke an attack. Besides, he was going to come here. I can't trust him, I was quick to say. I assumed the last attacks were done knowing this. Did he also do them to give us more reasons to attend the meeting? Anoki demanded with narrowed eyes. Were you even aware of this? I glared hearing the question as if it had never occurred to him. He slammed his fist on the table and leaked a bit of his killing intent. His glare was directed at the Godaime Hokage. You would not be working with the Emperor, would you? He demanded. If you are, there is not even a reason we should continue with this. He had lost many shinobi and he would never forgive those who worked with the Emperor. He would be willing to attack the other Kages even in the summit if they proved to be conspiring with that man. Don't be so rash, Tsunade said in a dismissive tone. Instead of accusing us of anything, you should think about thanking us for giving you a time to breathe. You were not performing well in the war. And the Emperor would not have given you time to recover before launching another devastating attack. It did not please her saying this, but it had to be said. They needed to be reminded that while they had come here with their chests puffed, they were losing horribly in a war they had started. They had certainly underestimated Naruto. And they were paying dearly for it. We don't need to be reminded, Anoki said. But you are still not answering my question. I knew he would attack, but I was not working with him. We are not even allies. The only reason I even knew about it was because he informed me after coming to let me know he would recover my sister, whom you had taken by force, Gaara said staring at the Tsuchikage. Your actions are part of the reason we are here, Tsunade said. We don't want to drag our villages into a needless war. But we will be forced to defend ourselves if you 2 going to provoke us. There has to be consequences for your actions, Tsuchikage. Anoki frowned deeply. What do you want from me? He demanded harshly and in anger. My granddaughter is missing, possibly dead. And she was the one who led the attack. I feel for your loss. Losing a family member is difficult, but you had no problems in giving the order that resulted in me nearly losing a family member. Your granddaughter tortured my sister. I cannot forget that. You must pay for what you did. If I refuse? What are you going to do? Suna does not have the might to do anything against the Iwagakure. I don't even think Konoha would be willing to get into a war with us. Last time we fought, we were winning until Minato appeared. You no longer have that. Mei shook her head. This kind of attitude was the reason the Great Five always fought. Anoki was not even willing to admit that he had done wrong. There would be nothing to talk about if he could not admit his error. If things did not change, they would not gain anything other than threats and war declarations. We thought about things and knew you would give such a response, Tsunade said with a shake of her head. There was clear disappointment in her tone. Will you not admit that what you did was wrong? Suna was not enemy, and yet you gave the order. Anoki was silent for a couple of moments. I did what I thought was best for my village, he simply said. Talking about this issue is not going to change anything. Kumo once did something against an Leaf and it never admitted to do any wrong, even when everyone knew they were wrong. Don't turn this on me, I said with a sharp look towards the Tsuchikage. I am just pointing out that things happen. The Sandaime Hokage had seen too much at that point, and the Leaf had just suffered massively from the Kyuubi rampage. He took a decision that was best for the survival of the village, Tsunade said firmly. But it does not mean that Kumo was not wrong. Wounds from the Third War were still fresh. We had also lost Minato. If we had gone to war with Kumo at that point, you would have joined and Konoha would not have survived. We are just not going to bring it now because it is not the reason we are here. Are you really not willing to admit that you were wrong? Mei asked, finally speaking. Her tone was gentle, quiet. I've already said what I did was best for my village. This is the reason why you are at war with the Emperor. You two cannot solve anything without going to war. You think power gives you the right to do whatever you please. You just now threw your muscles. Both you and the Raikage threatened me unless I joined your cause. You always want to use force to get what you want because you value power above all things. Mei had held back from making an alliance with the Emperor because she had still been concerned about his true objectives, but just hearing these two talk just made her realize that Yuzu indeed had no choice but to go to war. Both the Raikage and Tsuchikage would not have stood for it. Morals did not work in this world. It was all about power and protecting one's village. Tsunade raised an eyebrow hearing this from 5th Mizukage. It was honestly surprising to hear her speak so calmly despite that the two villages had tried to bully her into supporting them into war. This just added to the sins of these two. They have certainly fallen. But this has always been the way shinobi do things, hasn't it? The Leaf has in the past done many injustice to secure its position and borders. Perhaps pointing fingers was not really the one thing she could do. You really want all of us to return to those bloody days? Have you not had enough of wars? You should know better than anyone, Tsuchikage. There is nothing but pain in war. You have already lost many shinobi, and you will still lose many more if you continue like this. Those shinobi at home will only blame you. We have all done unspeakable things. Konoha certainly should not be the one to try to hold the moral high ground, Anoki said. That is true. Tsunade would not deny this. We cannot change our past, but that is precisely the reason we have refused to talk about past issues. The Kumo issue was in the past. We are talking about things you did now. And I will not allow you to use the past against us. I slammed his fist on the table. We should really be talking about the Emperor. He is too powerful and a danger to the balance past Kages fought to protect. What makes you think he isn't going to turn on you? We should really work together to fight against him, Anoki added. He is after something. He works with the criminal organization, the Akatsuchi, and we have noted that he has taken the Sound Country. That man plans to destabilize things in this world. He calls himself Emperor. Soon he will call himself Emperor of the Elemental Nations. Working on their fears, eh? Tsunade found it laughable. Maybe if it was months ago, she would have agreed to the idea of dealing with Naruto like that, but not anymore. The Akatsuchi? That is ironic coming from you, Anoki. I will admit that my past actions have not always been good. I made a blunder in this case. We have also underestimated the abilities of the Emperor, and we are paying for it. Anoki was truly loath to admit this. He spoke in a bitter tone. I will agree that the Emperor is indeed too powerful, but whether he is an enemy or not is something that we will decide for ourselves. If he is planning to expand, we will put a stop to it, Tsunade said in a hardened tone. The war is yours and we will not fight it. We have no reason to do so. But since you have shown contempt for us, we will not permit you to go through the borders of our country. If your shinobi try to cross through, they will be attacked. You'd risk war with us? Yes, if you invade the Fire Country, you are the ones challenging us. We are not taking sides, we just don't want you crossing through the borders. We have also agreed with the Hokage that shinobi from Iwa will not be permitted into both the Wind and Fire Country until you see the error of your ways. Both Wind and Fire Lords will put pressure on your feudal lord to put some restraint in you. If he refuses, the earth will lose the business of all the small nations that border it. Apparently, they all don't like Iwa for its lack of respect for their borders. One worrying fact seems to be that they appear to have made an alliance with the Uzumaki Empire, Gaara added calmly. Anoki frowned deeply. Even if he survived the war, Iwa would surely suffer economically. Once the war was over, the feudal lord held more power. He had not thought these two would take such an extreme measure. I would not be against sending my forces to assist the Leaf in protecting its borders, Mei added. Ridiculous! I exclaimed in anger. None of you are willing to help in this war. If you stand against us, we will fight you. What you are doing is simply protecting the Emperor. We cannot excuse that. I think I have proven beyond doubt that I do not need any protection. A cold voice of the Emperor rang as he entered the meeting place. The guards of both Anoki and I took their positions, but the others did not react but just watched. Sasuke had his Sharingan activated, watching. If Naruto showed a moment of weakness or a simple opening, he was going to take it and ensure the blonde was dead. He heard the blonde was planning to expand. He no doubt wanted to dominate the elemental nations. He wanted to change things. Sasuke could not trust Naruto's intentions. I activated his lightning cloak while Anoki took to the air, holding his hands together, ready to launch an attack. Calm down, you two! Tsunade shouted while on her feet. She didn't want things going far. They could not fight here. We did not come here to fight, and you were informed he would appear. The Godaima then glared at Naruto for his timing. With how good he was with stealth, he may have been watching since the beginning. Well, it didn't look like things were going anywhere anyway. But their measure against Anoki would hit him hard. Iwa was going to suffer, and he would be forced to act. Konoha would not be affected badly by this measure. It just meant that Leaf Shinobi would be constantly fighting with Iwa. This is an opportunity for us to get rid of a man who has killed many of our shinobi. Anoki had nothing but hate for the Emperor. If you are going to fight, just know that we will be willing to fight you, Gaara said in a stern tone. Brother, he said to his brother. Even he knew that the situation was dangerous. There were 3 Kages, one of them a Jinchuriki and a Sannin. The other was an Uchiha, and he felt powerful. He was not the Emperor, but he was not normal either. What? If we fight here, we won't win, he said. I stared at Naruto before deactivating his cloak and then settled down, yet he kept his glare upon the blonde. Anoki followed his example and calm returned into the room. Naruto, who had an amused look, slowly reached the Kages before rounding them, hands crossed behind. He stood by the window and looked outside. You should really do well to hide your killing intent, Sasuke. I have killed many people, so I can tell when someone really wants to murder me. The Emperor spoke in a measured tone. I can understand with Itsutsuki. I have been picking apart his shinobi after all. Tsunade frowned hearing those words. She had thought she handled this issue with Sasuke's thoughts towards Naruto. She truly hoped that the Uchiha did not do something stupid like attack the Emperor because she did not want that. There were chances of Naruto declaring war on them if Sasuke went that far. Showing your back to us, you have grown rather confident in your abilities, I said with anger. I am watching you. My senses work perfectly. Besides, I am not here for a battle. We decided to pause just for this summit. I am here to talk to see if we can end things without any more bloodshed. I must be honest, this is starting to weigh me down. I cannot continue to stomach this slaughter, Naruto said. And I thought you were enjoying yourself, Anoki said with bitter sarcasm. Naruto eyed the Tsuchikage through the corner of his eyes and then responded. Just because I grow weary of it doesn't mean that I cannot continue with it. I would have no problem slaughtering all your men in both camps if that is what it takes to end this conflict. That kind of language doesn't really help, Naruto, Tsunade warned. I'm afraid I must speak in terms they can understand, the blonde said. This is a formal setting. I would rather you not call me so casually, Hokage-sama. Perhaps when we are in a private setting, I can accept that. Tsunade did not respond to this. If you came to talk and look for a way to end this, you must be ready to die then. We will only accept your death and the return of my granddaughter, Anoki said. And Yujito, I added. We can leave Uzushio alone for the time being. It is likely that the village has no power to threaten us aside from you. Laughable, the Emperor said. You started this war and are losing it, yet you demand my head. Perhaps it would make your people happy, but it will not happen. I did not take Kuratsuchi, Tsuchikage. I beat her and left her to die. If she isn't around, then it is a worrying matter. Yujito will not be returned. We end this war by you surrendering to me and giving your lives as sacrifices. We are still Kages and will not give our lives to anyone. You have already killed many of our shinobi, I added forcefully. He seemed ready to explode. You started a war, and we have not forgotten that you invaded our village before and nearly led us to extinction because of your insecurities. You wanted to lead us to ruin once more. We simply cannot let this go. We are not sure if you will not even try to do this again. We will not allow them, Tsunade was quick to say. The Kages can make an agreement to say if the other attacks one of us for no reason at all, we will defend the other. We could extend this agreement towards Uzushio. There will never be peace in my village as long as he is alive. He has killed far too many for us to simply let things go. Naruto shook his head. He had expected them to be stubborn, but it was still disappointing seeing it happen. These two were just prime examples of what was wrong in this world. The main issue was that they had declared war on them and then tried to destroy them simply because they viewed them as a threat. They were now angry because he had killed their shinobi. What did they expect of him? Were they thinking that he would just roll over and allow them to butcher the clan he forced to come out of hiding? It was war. People died. They had just gone into it thinking they would win, and now they were trying to push their Kage muscles to see him dead even though he had been provoked. Naruto had never cared about the balance and peace. He'd always been concerned about his clan. It was his greatest love. For it, he had donned the mask of the emperor and went on a slaughter. He would not simply die to make bloody idiots comfortable. Just because they were Kages, it did not mean they were right. The leading powers were truly arrogant. Naruto turned around and faced the Kages. His eyes were sharp, the atmosphere around him a little menacing. There was deathly silence when he did this, and when he spoke, no one seemed to breathe. You people are disappointing. You should be on your knees begging for mercy. You have done us wrong and you refuse to accept this. The core issue here is not that I slaughtered your shinobi, it is that you declared war on us when we had done nothing to you. You wanted to repeat history, but this time, we were prepared. We have stopped you and you think that now you can demand my death? Ridiculous. You are insane to even think of such. You are losing your war. Admit that. Beg for mercy and I will give it. Your status as Kages mean nothing to me. Naruto calmed down after saying those words and then turned away once more. I lost my cool a little there, he said in a light tone. A full minute went by in silence until Anoki spoke. If we had not attacked, you would have done it for the past actions. We did what we did for our safety. But I am still willing to declare an end to things without your death. Of course, I would still need the other Kages to agree with me that if we are attacked upon making the agreement, you must defend us. This should be an agreement supported by the feudal lords as well, Anoki suggested. You'd still be letting him continue to live, I said. That is a sound idea, Mei said in thought. But it still does not address the fundamental issue here. Which us? Anoki asked. The fact that you cannot even see it makes it difficult for me to say I will defend you, Mei responded a bit sharply. Kyumo and Iiwa waged war on Uzushio. Kiri, Konoha and Suna all agree that you were wrong. But you are not willing to admit this. You want to justify this by saying you lost your shinobi. What did you expect when you went to war? Did you not consider that it could happen? You would not have complained if you laid siege in the wave and killed innocent people before destroying Yuzu once more. Do not speak to me like a child, Mizukage, Anoki responded with a slight glare. But she is right, Gaara stressed. Tsunade agreed. This war should have never occurred in the first place. If you can admit that, we would be willing to help you end it. But we will not support the death of the Emperor. We are not saying we are on his side. You don't need to die. If the Emperor is good in his intentions, he should be satisfied that you have learned your lessons and should be willing to work with you towards reconciliation, and we would be there to oversee this. There will be no reconciliation until he is dead, I said. He is a major threat. Tsunade could not have said it any better, and I could not have given a better response. There is nothing else to talk about then. We will continue with our war, Naruto said as he turned around. He started walking towards the exit. Wait, I shouted, while on his feet. We don't want to lose any more shinobi. Let us settle this amongst ourselves as leaders. We will fight you and we shall accept the result. I will order my shinobi to retreat and maybe we can talk about peace thereafter. We would not seek the destruction of Uzushio and the others would take action if we went against this. You would also not attack our villages if we lost. We would need the Kages to back us in case you decide to attack us regardless, Anoki added. We can do that, Tsunade said. What do you say, Emperor? When do we fight? We will send a message. I will be waiting. Naruto stepped out of the room after saying those words. At least we were able to get somewhere, Tsunade said with a smile. But our judgment on Iwa for its actions towards Suna remains even if you lose against the Emperor. It doesn't affect me in any way, I said as he stood up. Tsuchikage, we will need to talk about how we handle him. We cannot afford to lose this battle. Of course. Anoki joined I in leaving. This was the perfect chance to kill the Emperor with the other Kages staying out of it. Gaara shook his head after they left. I have a feeling this is just what the Emperor wanted. I doubt he would have accepted anything less than what he demanded, he said. I feel the same, Tsunade said. But at least they all got what they wanted. No doubt they want to kill him, Mei added. We made some progress. There should be another meeting after the war to talk about a way forward. There should be greater cooperation amongst the Kages. Let us start with us. We have an understanding and can work with each other. I have been working with the Kazekage for some time. There is trust amongst us. His word means something. I would not be against having that kind of relationship with you. But the problem now is Yuzu's expansion. We simply can't let it continue. Jiraiya spoke for the first time. We will discuss this, but I must agree with you, Gaara said. We focused on the right side of things. If one of us does err, we should apply the same standards, including Emperor. I have no intentions of giving him a free pass, Tsunade said. It will be difficult for him because all eyes will be on him mainly due to his power, Mei said. But I agree with the Kazekage. We must apply the same standards to everyone. We cannot overlook certain things. This is truly different from how things were done in the past. The concept of right was defined by the winner. Everyone always has reasons. We can justify anything. Perhaps this world will see some change, Tsunade said with a slight shake of her head. Maybe his introduction isn't a bad thing, as long as he does not stray to the path of evil. It isn't as if he isn't incapable of evil, Sasuke commented. I'm sure he isn't far off. I'm going to speak to him. The Uchiha disappeared. Jiraiya, keep watch before he attacks the Emperor. We don't want to make things worse. If they fight and Naruto is stronger, he will kill Sasuke. We still need him for Konoha. Of course, Haim. The Toad Sage made a clone and it disappeared. He still did need to stay with Tsunade in case something happened. With Anoki. The Sandaime Tsuchikage let loose of a long, tired breath. He stopped walking under a tree and watched his guards lean against the tree trunk. Well, things had taken a turn that he had not expected. The pressure from Konoha would certainly make things difficult for him and Iiwa. But on the good side of things, they'd managed to make a deal that would save many of his shinobi. He just had to make sure that they lived to see another day. It was honestly going to be a difficult task fighting the Emperor, but they had to pull through. He nevertheless did need to consider that he may die in battle. If he was going to die, he would need to at least make sure that the Emperor was crippled. His eyes turned to the Raikage. He was not pleased that the man was not facing the heat from other three nations. And he had received a report that the man had started retreating before they even came here. He hadn't even bothered telling him about it. Their alliance was indeed patched up. But they still needed each other. Neither thought they could win without the other. In this case, there was no underestimating the power of the Emperor. You could have told me you were going to have your forces retreat. If we had not reached a deal, my shinobi would have been the ones to be attacked. Anoki complained with a stare. The Raikage stopped just a foot away from Anoki and shrugged indifferently. You could have made the same choice. I did what I thought was best for Kumo. But it hardly matters now anyway. We must speak about how we battled the Emperor. Of course I was going to dismiss his concerns. I have already lost one of the Jinchuriki, but I will summon the last one to be with us in battle. We have to go all out or else we won't win this. My brother will join me. I have also lost a Jinchuriki to the Emperor, I said. I hope you don't hold out on me and let us face him alone. I wouldn't go that far, Anoki said with a shake of his head. You know this is also what he wanted. If we don't seriously work together, he will get his wish, and I don't think he is just going to leave our villages alone. We need to put everything to ensure he dies. Uzushio itself doesn't appear to be a threat. If they had the power, they would have been to the battlefield already. We will test that, I said. There is still the issue of Amegakure. That Rinnegan wielder is just as powerful as the Emperor. It appears that there is more than one, Anoki said with a frown. It is still in Amegakure. We will need to make a plan for it once the Emperor is dead. But we should recover first. If we make any reckless movements, we will be going to an all-out war with the other three great nations. With the casualties we have already suffered, it will not be good for both our villages. Agreed. With Naruto. Naruto was sitting on the limb of a tree, swinging both his feet slowly as he counted the seconds. He was sure Sasuke would come for him. He had no problems with the Uchiha, and actually wanted to see the rebirth of the Uchiha clan. But Sasuke's attitude towards him would make things difficult for him. He clearly held murderous intentions towards him. If this did not change, he would end up dying. It would be a pity. When the Uchiha appeared below him in a lightning buzz, he narrowed his eyes below and then spoke. You still refuse to grow, Sasuke. I thought perhaps sending Itachi after you would help you grow a bit. But your hatred has truly battered you. You make your intentions so obvious. If I was someone else, I would kill you because you obviously will try to stab me in the back if you see an opportunity. It would not be a bad thing to this world if you died, Sasuke said. Do you actually think you can kill me simply? The power of the Kyuubi does not make you invisible. I would not need the Kyuubi to beat you unless you had the perfect Susanoo. Admittedly, that is a power I would rather not face, Naruto said. What are you planning, Naruto? I know you want something. You planned for this. If they had not attacked, you would have provoked them to attack you. Naruto looked behind him, sensing Jiraiya's chakra signature. The Sannin. He hadn't said anything then. But then again, it hadn't his moment to say anything. The platform was reserved for the Kages. How good is your vision now? Can you even see clearly? Naruto asked while looking down at the Uchiha. What are you talking about? Don't play dumb. I know overuse of the Mangekyo Sharingan causes blindness. You will eventually go blind. He then jumped from the tree and landed in front of Sasuke with a smile. You can still see. Did you take my brother's body? Maybe, maybe not. I would be nice if I had it, don't you think? Naruto asked with a smile. Sasuke unsheathed his sword and lunged at Naruto, swinging his sword in a downward slash. The blonde did not move an inch. Jiraiya flashed between them, knees bent slightly, right hand held up, the left facing Naruto with its palm open. He caught Sasuke's wrist with his right hand. Stop it, Sasuke! The Uchiha glared for a moment before pulling away. Good timing, Jiraiya, Naruto said with a smile. I must depart. There was some troubling information I received from Anoki that needs intervention. What information? The disappearance of Kuratsuchi. I was certain I had left her for dead, but her disappearance poses questions about who may have taken her. If it was not you, who could have done it? I'm not the bad guy here, Naruto responded. Regardless, I will see to it that I find out. He waved his right hand and then disappeared along gusts of winds. Sound. Naruto stood by a large boulder, overlooking the many rice fields that surrounded the large green watery area. None of the other lands within the Uzumaki Empire had such land that could be used for farming. The wave's main point of business was indeed trade, but it worked well with its port. It would certainly challenge the port city in the Fire Nation within the near future. He would have to make sure more farms were prepared for agricultural purposes. Those with land saw the value in it. Economic benefit simply did not come from shinobi missions only. The Sound was not going to be structured to depend on shinobi for its economy. It was not to say it would not have shinobi, it would be waste of Guren's power to make her lead a civilian nation. The Empire did not have the military prowess to challenge the great nations without him, but he would build his military strength. It was now time to develop this nation. Amegakure and Nadashiko provided some fighting power, but Sound would have to develop as well while. Naori, Naruto said as he felt the presence of the man. Your Majesty. Naori responded as his form appeared behind the Emperor. Should we prepare in case Iwa decide to pass by this land on their way back? It does not hurt us to make precautionary measures, Naruto said. Do it. I'm rather concerned by Kuratsuchi's disappearance. We need to find her and fast. She absolutely loathes me, and if she meets the wrong people, she will prove to be a major problem in the future if she returns. You think Zetsu might be behind it? A possibility we cannot overlook. I will send the men to look for her. It is strange that she could just disappear. If she is still alive, she will eventually return to this world and she will not be able to hide. Hopefully without any nasty surprises. The Emperor responded in a thoughtful tone. What do you think about Miyuki? Yoshino's woman? She is a strange woman. She was not like that from the beginning, not unless she was faking it. We know all Uzumaki and their personalities, but she is somehow. We cannot get a read on her, and she has displayed a rather curious mind. Yoshino doesn't seem to mind it nevertheless. Naori smiled. She may be a little twisted. I would not want to be alone with her. But that is the reason she matches Yoshino. She worries me, Naruto admitted. I don't plan on talking to Yoshino about this, but keep an eye on her. Of course, Your Majesty. Go attend your duties. I will see Guren and then return home. There should be no more battles until the Raikage and Setsukage send us their message to meet for one last battle. But keep your eyes open. Those treacherous people might just shock us with something nasty. Hi. And then he was gone. Sound capital. Wooden houses lined up one after the other, surrounding the tall tower within the heart of the capital. The tower overlooked all other buildings, and unlike most buildings, it was made with a mixture of three materials: wood, sand, and metal. There was a large wall that surrounded the capital, with one main entrance. In the future, it would be divided in 5 parts: Shinobi District, Market, Civilian District, The Mixed Zone and the Compounds District. The Mixed District welcomed you from the main entrance. Naruto put on a disguise and walked through the busy streets in a slow pace as he viewed how things were within. He could see more people coming here. Sound, Amegakure, and the wave would all be connected by the trains. It would be easy for people to travel to each nation and for goods to move. Upon arriving the tower, Naruto stared at it thinking about Pain's tower. After a couple of moments, he crossed his hands behind and then entered the building. There were guards who stopped him, but he revealed himself, and they apologized before offering to escort him. He permitted it and walked with them in silence. Guren was at the top of the building. Her office was large. The wall on the left from the entrance had a shelf which contained scrolls only. The shelf on the right wall contained books. There were 3 chairs in front of her desk. Behind her, there was a large sliding door, opening the view to a balcony. Your Majesty. Guren was on her feet as she welcomed him. Naruto smiled and walked over to her, but he then surrounded her and walked out towards the balcony. There was a quiet chill. He jumped on the small wall and settled graciously before closing his eyes. Yes, he could get used to this. You have a lovely view here, the Emperor said before getting off. He walked back into the office and motioned for Guren to sit. He stood behind her and placed both his hands on her shoulders. Marriage plans? I have been a little too busy. Not good enough. I'm not really interested in marriage. That is the reason. But I need your bloodline to continue, as I do with Haku. He then leaned over her right ear. If you are not having any luck, I would not mind taking the reins. If one of my children became a bloodline wielder, it would be good for the Empire and the future. Guren tensed. Naruto smiled. I'm harassing you, he said in a light tone. He moved away from Guren and then walked back outside. Status report. Chapter 22, The Emperor's Wishes. For how long has he been thinking about battles? The desire to see the Uzumaki reign in this world? There was never a time to enjoy the comfort of life, he always had to be the Emperor, playing judge and murderer. Karin may have been pushed towards him, but aside from Temari, she was truly the only other person he could speak with freely without any restraint. Perhaps conversations with her were much more enjoyable than with Temari. There was always some attachment to Gaara's sister, but there was not time to think about it. With battles heading towards conclusions, another chapter in his life would open up. With a long and thoughtful look on his face, Naruto stripped the gown he wore. He was standing at the edge of a hot spring within the land of hot springs. Esoteric marks covered his chest with black ink. There were no wounds. There was nothing but peace within the waters. He closed his eyes, enjoying the warmth that filled his body. The muscles felt as if they were loosening up. The tension in his body evaporated slowly. He felt calm. It was almost as if he was trapped in the little world he captures for himself when he was alone. Perhaps he was truly a miserable person who continually spends time alone, obsessed with thoughts about Fuinjutsu, and what his life would have been like had his mother been alive, and if Uzumaki had never been destroyed in the first place. Maybe he would have lived a much simpler life. There had been unbearable pain when he was younger. He had been silently miserable. Only the Sandaime had cared. Konoha had turned him a villain, it had corrupted its thought towards him because of what he carried. Maybe the destructive thought about the Uzumaki had been the result of his hidden emotions. Rationalizing things had been the only way he could grow without hating everything around him. He certainly would have been filled up with anger, which would have exploded with the Kyuubi's goading. But he was here. Perhaps the downside of his mindset was that he had suppressed his emotions. Someone is lost in thought. Naruto blinked upon the words registering through his mind. On the other side, Princess Koike sat, her naked body hidden within the waters. Naruto could still see the shadows of her breasts. It just made him curious to stare into the water to see if he could see more of it. I let my guard down, Naruto said in a whisper. He smiled warmly. You have learned to be sneaky. You were just far away from me. I thought you may have been gone and trapped inside with a heated argument with the Kyuubi. Naruto shook his head. I was thinking about things I never give myself time to think about. The war is to come to an end. There will still be more to do once it has ended. What things? Koike asked curiously. Relationships, family, and my feelings about my bitter childhood. I've always avoided thinking about what could have been because it does not change anything and just makes you wish for things you can never have. Regardless, I want a future to be a little better. I have not even honored my promise to give you a child. Despite my pleadings, Koike said. I won't deny I do find myself enjoying the physical pleasures a little too much, but I'd never deeply thought about being a father. Maybe I don't think I am ready for it. Maybe it is just some nonsensical fear. It's strange hearing you talk about fears. You have always been assured of what you want. You have never displayed a moment of weakness and always have an answer for everything, Koiki said before smiling, a small smile. But it is good to know you are still just like the rest of us. Everyone is human, dear. How we are trained to react to situations determines our emotional reactions. I taught myself certain lessons and principles. I have spent time thinking about the wider issues in life, but I don't have all the answers. I'm not a genius, I just give myself time to think and conclude things logically. Naruto responded in a quiet tone before adding with a smile. I guess we should start trying to give you what you want. It would be interesting, and something I can use to develop myself as a person. You want to use my child as an experiment? I'm not that heartless. Every child of mine will be loved. Admittedly, there might be favoritism to those who will bear the Uzumaki name. It is really going to be a challenging experience, but we will get it right. You have never raised a child either, so we will see how it goes. As long as you don't abandon me to raise the child on my own. What do you think of me, Koiki? Well, for one thing, you don't love me. This marriage was just an arrangement we both made to benefit our nations. It's not like you love me either, Naruto said with a shrug. I have learned that to care for someone is the best thing you can do. I care for you. Sometimes for a woman, that is simply not enough. You need to give attention and time. Caring and protection are sometimes equivalent to you. There will be those people who will not be pleased with protection but will want more. It was not that he didn't know about that. During those days with Jiraiya, Naruto had observed many things about relationships. Konoha had deprived him of that, but he was no longer in that contemptuous village. I know that, but knowledge and awareness doesn't really mean application, Naruto said in a thoughtful tone. It is going to be difficult. I wonder if I will even have the time. My duties alone will only grow once the war is over. And I fear that there could be some people lurking in the shadows, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Isn't there always something to worry about? Always. Sonigakure. Gaara stared expressionlessly at the papers on his desk, but his eyes were not focused on them. His mind was in chaos. It was a jungle that threatened to test the ever-firm expressionless mask on his face. There was much to think about, the road ahead seemed narrow. There was a chance of another war. He had lived the past years thinking about its possibility. Konoha had trained its shinobi in preparation for war. Almost every great nation had prepared. At some point, it had seemed as if it would be an inevitability that they would be dragged to a bloodbath, but things had not progressed to that point. Instead, it was Uzashio fighting. No, it was Naruto fighting. And he was the one committing the bloodbath. Just how many men had he killed already? It was indeed war, and perhaps for the survival of his people, he had to fight this way, but this was something that could have been avoided. Anoki and I were stubborn. Power was the rule. Because they had the power, their movements were right and justified. It was ridiculous. But that was how things operated in this world. He didn't think it would continue nevertheless, not with the force of nature that was the Emperor. He had just come to disturb the order of the 5 Kages, the balance of power. He was not bound by the fear of the great nations. Gaara was not worried too much about the Emperor, but he worried about Iwagakure. Once the pressure they would invoke on the village starts squeezing the life out of them, he could expect some resistance. There was no doubt that the village would try to push back. Anoki would not simply grovel and apologize. That is if he does survive Naruto, which Gaara doesn't think likely. The Emperor was likely going to kill those 2 Kages. The Kazekage looked up towards his door when he heard it slowly open. His sister walked in and closed it. His eyes fell firmly on her until she settled down on a chair in front of his desk. You look stressed, Temari said, her eyes fixed on her brother's. Gaara shook his head in slow movements. The words did not quickly escape from his lips. He only spoke after a couple of moments had passed. Suna does not have the military strength to fight Iwagakure. We have to depend on Konoha to fight battles. If we are to get anything from them, we have to continue make sure that our relationship with them remains strong. Isn't it strong? You have worked hard since you became Kazekage to strengthen things after the invasion. It is, and there is a mutual respect and understanding between me and the Hokage. But things can change, Temari. The Kage Summit taught me that power means everything in this world. If you do not have the power, no one will listen to you, those with power will trample you. That Tsuchikage even reminded me that I could not do anything to Iwagakure without help from Konoha. Suna's dependence on Konoha had been the reason his father had even considered the idea of betraying the village in the first place. But Gaara was not going to follow that path. He was not treacherous. That aside, the leaf was powerful. He had seen it himself. The village rebuilt its once fearsome shinobi over the past years. It continues to rebuild. It was no wonder Tsunade had no problems going to war with both Stone and Cloud, as long as he was there to offer support. Military strength was not attained simply for show, it was gained to be used. Naruto did not train to become stronger just for the sake of it, he wanted to use his power. Perhaps the powerful end up misusing their power because the power corrupts them. No, power does corrupt, especially those who allowed it to dictate their lives. Solemnly, Gaara added. With your relationship with the Emperor, our relationship with him may become better than Konoha's. From what I have been able to gather, he hates the leaf and their relationship might improve, but it probably won't become like ours. Perhaps there is also the issue of why Konoha failed to rescue Uzumaki before. Temari looked away from her brother. She really did need to have a long chat with Naruto. He would not tell her about anything that does not affect their relationship. Whenever they are together, it was always about what concerns them and other things were kept locked away. Do you think our relationship with Uzumaki may cause some friction with Konoha? It is a possibility, but depending on what both Uzumaki and Konoha are doing. We just need to ensure that we maintain things as much as we can. Certain things you cannot avoid regardless of how hard you may try. We must also look for ways to strengthen our military. Maybe that is not necessary at this time. But we will see what happens. Without weapons of destruction, there will not be destruction. Yet, it is not the weapons that are the cause of destruction. Jutsus are merely the imaginations of men. We think chaos. That is why we invent it. Perhaps to stop this kind of thing, we must stop thinking about them. Do you want me to use my relationship to make things better? I'm sorry I must make this request. No, it is fine, Temari said with a wave of her right hand. I did think that something like this would occur. It became apparent that I would have a role to play when he revealed himself as the Emperor. Amegakure. It was remarkable how much time he was spending in the village compared to a couple of years ago. He'd always been a visitor. Ever since both his teammates left the Leaf, he'd also left. Perhaps being here had reminded him too much of his failures as a shinobi. But these days, he could hardly allow those factors to influence his decisions. He could not afford to be away from home, not with war knocking at their doorsteps. If things work out with Naruto and his enemies, there would be no more war, and perhaps they would try to make sure that such things never happened again. The current group of Kage were taking things in the right direction. Jiraiya glanced at Tsunade from the window, where he sat. She seemed preoccupied with her thoughts than the work Shikako had left behind for her. He smiled bitterly, thinking of his feelings. You simply just could not get everyone to love you. Just because you love doesn't mean you will be loved. Life was not fictional as the stories people wrote. Thinking of stories, he seriously needed to pick up on his writing. Perhaps he could draw inspiration from Naruto. He was the Emperor, and with his history with women, he surely had some interesting stories to tell. You're drooling, you pervert! Jiraiya blinked. Tsunade was glaring at him. He smiled a bit sheepishly. I was just thinking about something, Haim. Perverted, no doubt, she said with disgust. Don't be like that, Haim, Jiraiya responded, smiling. He then turned serious. Nothing is happening yet, but fireworks should start soon. You think Naruto is going to win, don't you? Tsunade nodded. With the power he has displayed in this war, he could win. It would be stupid to bet against him. But still, nothing is certain. He could still lose the war to them. If he loses, they will kill him. Jiraiya shook his head and then corrected himself. No, he has already come back from the dead. He has always displayed a smart sense of battle. If he is losing, he will flee. Naruto isn't that stupid after all. But if they win, things can go any other way. Maybe, but they will move carefully. Perhaps it is cold to say, but if Naruto does die or lose, it would make things easier for us. Yet I don't think that Uzumaki would be left without options. Nagato is still there, and he has displayed that he is just as destructive as Naruto. There is a bit about the Empire's strength that we don't know, and it is by design. The end of Naruto does not mean the end of it. His former student, that peace-loving Nagato who once didn't even know if it was right to kill to protect your loved ones, he had surely become a brutal person. Perhaps he was worse than Naruto. What Nagato had done in Amegakure was merciless. Those two were Uzumaki, and they had the power to change things. The Toads had warned him. If both wanted chaos and destruction, they would surely bring it. They had the power. I must go see Nagato once things have settled, Jiraiya announced. We should now focus on how we work things out with Uzumaki. Kumo might be a problem, but I is perhaps reasonable, and we could work things out with him. High chances are that they will be killed. You okay with that? It doesn't matter. It is their war, and this is what they want. Tsunade responded in a firm tone. If they are killed, it clears the way for new leaders to come in. Perhaps the problem may be if the new leaders are like their predecessors. But I am hoping for something different. Jiraiya's lips parted as he tried to respond, but there was a knock at the door. Come in. Shikaku opened the door before closing it once inside. He greeted both Sanins with a small smile before sitting in front of Tsunade's desk. You're late. I apologize, I had got held up with something, he said. What did you want to discuss? Jiraiya asked. About the way we move forward with the Uzumaki Empire. I spoke to the Emperor just after you left, and we exchanged some words. You already know that he had made an agreement with the Sandaime Hokage. Part of what was in the agreement was that Naruto had to marry someone within the village to maintain relations with Konoha. But I think we should not work on that route. Naruto does not want to do it, and given his contempt for this village, forcing him into the marriage will only make things worse. He will not do anything far beyond the agreement. We have to avoid that. I suggest that we break the current agreement and make a new one. We can discuss new terms that we all find acceptable when we sit with him. But there is something that we insist on inserting, and that is one of his children must marry into Konoha. The children would have to be introduced at a younger age, and Naruto's child must also live here, study here, and become a shinobi of this village. We had not considered that, but it works better, Tsunade said in thought. You want the child to grow up here so that she grows attached to this village? Shikaku nodded. Better relations can only be formed when one of them is attached to this village. Naruto may not care for this village, but his children might. Of course, there is still the issue of who gets to marry. For this, I had considered the Hyuga. That includes the Byakugan. Do you think they would willingly agree to such a thing? The Byakugan is not being taken anywhere since Naruto's child will grow here, thus by marriage become a member of the Hyuga clan. Hayashi will consider the benefits to his clan. The empire is only going to grow and become more influential on the lives of many people in the elemental nations. If they get closer, they will benefit greatly. We cannot pick just anyone who is not noble, since Naruto's children will be princes and princesses. Will you do the talking with Hayashi? Tsunade asked. That would be troublesome, Shikaku said with a shake of his head. Hayashi is my peer, it would work best coming from you. I will think about it. Is there anything else? No, Shikaku said. He spoke his last words and departed from the office. Things were just going to get a little complicated from now on. At least she was going to quit. She was not getting any younger anyway. She certainly didn't want to lead this village through her old age as her sensei did. There were people capable of becoming Kage now. When is Kakashi going to arrive? I am going to have him sit with Hayashi to lead the discussion. It will be good to see how he handles diplomatic talks before I quit this tiring job. You really serious about that? Of course I am, Tsunade said firmly. I don't know how sensei did it for so many years, but this job is too much. The brats might think being Hokage is fun, but it is not. The responsibility you carry weighs you down. I can only imagine, Jiraiya said. You're constantly put in a position where you must choose between two things. You must always be decisive. Sometimes you have to choose who gets to live or die. If you had to make such decisions, you'd certainly grow old quickly. But Kakashi should be fine. He was Umbu after all. He knows what is best. It is his tardiness that bothers me. I'm sure that will change with the new responsibility. Shiogakure. Footsteps echoed through the throne room as Naruto strode, hands crossed on his back. There was no other sound other than his footsteps. When he sat down and rested his head on the palm of his right hand, everything became still. It was just complete silence. Naruto did not hate it. He had designed the room to be completely cut off from the world, to give it privacy and peace. He didn't have to worry about explosions setting off outside while he remained ignorant. Yuzu was well protected. After a couple of moments passed, Naori formed from the shadows, on the Emperor's left side. Where is Haku? He has gone to Kirigakure to see if the issue with the Water Lord has been resolved. He should nevertheless return soon, Naori answered. Did you need him? No, I just did not feel his presence, so I wondered. Yoshino has requested permission to grant Miyuki access to the compound. He would not give his reasons as to why such a move should be made. No, aside from my concerns, there is no reason to grant the request. She is useless to me and the protection of the compound. Her access will be restricted as normal. I will give him the message. Naori was certain that Yoshino expected the rejection. Perhaps there was a game the man was playing with the Emperor. Sometimes it was difficult to understand just how the two thought at times. Yoshino was the only one who could take decisions that Naruto would have made. Haku was different. He didn't consider his superior's thoughts, but what he believed was best for the situation. Kumo's forces in the sea have not made any movements, but we received a message saying that they stopped at an island and unloaded the suppliers. It could be that they are just taking a break from the sea travel while awaiting further instructions from the Raikage. They will move again, Naruto said in thought. Keep watch on them. We must not let anyone escape if they make moves towards us. For now, we will play ignorant and allow the cloud to think we see nothing. Nadashiko sent a message. We will visit them once Haku returns. It has been long since we made an appearance, Naruto said. Ready Itachi's eyes and put the seal on them. Send a message to Guren to start recruiting people she can use for intelligence within the Sound. As planned, there will be one system that manages all our shinobi. Recruitment within the Sound will nevertheless be strict. The members of the Akatsuchi? They are no longer of use to us. They are wanted criminals, and it would not serve us right should we shield them when the great nations want them. For now, leave them be but keep their movements under surveillance. We should nevertheless make plans for Kisame. He was too close to Obito. Will you handle it? In due time, perhaps it will be a hunt once we have settled things. But for now, we have our focus. Naruto paused when he sensed Yoshino's presence. The man walked purposefully toward him and stopped a couple of feet away from the throne before speaking. Your Majesty, he greeted with a smile. Naruto merely nodded in response. I have been thinking about how we are going to build the trains and the railways without the Akatsuki no longer doing missions. The project to even develop the Sound is going to cost us more than we have, and Amegakure will not be able to help as it did in the past. What do you have in mind? We took Gato's business, and that helped us with some funds, but it was all spent in the wave country. The shipping business helps the wave's economy, so we cannot take it. The wave also needs to continue with its expansion to make it the kind of village we want it to be. Money will be required, which we do not have. I'm well aware that our financial position does not match our ambitions. Get to it. Yoshino continued smiling as he responded. There are many criminals running loose and many gold mines that are in the hands of criminals. Bandits have loot with them. We can simply claim that instead of demanding compensations from Cloud and Stone. This will set us up for the future. That makes sense. Another reason? I want to expand Uzumaki. It is still relatively too small. I want it to grow, but of course, we would still need to ensure that the Uzumaki know they cannot marry anyone not from the clan. Extinction is our greatest fear, and we have all agreed to do everything possible to make sure it is avoided. Uzumaki is yours. What happens to it is not my decision. But you would still need to approve. If you need my approval, you have it. However, ensure we don't have a situation with our people falling for those not of our blood. What should we make of it? Taboo? Yes, something forbidden, Naruto said. How do you plan to make this plan of yours work? I was hoping we could utilize Guren's extreme skills and the men she leads to make things happen. Noroi has already gathered valuable spots we could hit. Naruto stared at the man, thinking how long he had been having such thoughts. He then shook his head. He didn't need to know. You have my permission, he said. I have rejected your request with regards to Miyuki. Does that pass your test? Yoshino merely continued smiling. Which side of you does she even know? A side that she likes, Your Majesty. Naruto blinked before bursting out in laughter. When does she get pregnant? I am expecting a child. If she is of any use, she will serve her purpose. Very soon, Your Majesty, very soon. I work hard at it. Naruto smiled. Does she know? Konoha, Uchiha compound. Sasuke couldn't help but snort at his current predicament. He had fled this village for more power. He did get it, but just not quite enough. His salvation had been with his brother. It was at times maddening that many people looked down on his brother and cursed his name. He had once done it and vowed to murder him, but he hadn't known the sacrifice his brother had made for Konoha. Coming back here, he had vowed revenge over all those who were involved. But recently, he'd come to realize he was truly no longer interested. It has been some time since he returned to this village, and ever since he has worked to protect it. Perhaps it was his jealousy and contempt for Naruto that made him chase after the Emperor. No doubt if he did anything, Konoha would turn on him, the whole of Uzumaki would hunt him. Tsunade had made it clear to him that unless she gave the order, he was never to try anything. Admittedly, he'd never given much of a thought to the consequences, but he'd only been thinking about removing someone he believed to be a threat to the leaf. His eyes turned when he sensed something. He picked up the short sword lying on the floor on his right side. He was sitting just behind his house. I come in peace, Black Zetsu said in a slow dark tone, seeing the narrow look from the Uchiha. He just formed from the ground, in front of Sasuke. What do you want? Naruto has been hunting you and it would make him owe me if I captured you. I did consider that, but I have been watching you. And I want you to join me. Sasuke's Sharingan activated and he strengthened the grip on his sword. He was familiar with the danger here and Naruto had mentioned it. He was simply not going to allow himself to be taken in for a ride when Itachi had already warned him about the dangerous characters in this shinobi world. I have no interest. I know where Itachi's eyes are and in your current situation you need them. I can make sure you get them and take down the Emperor. These people are still not grateful of the sacrifice your brother made to this village. They scorn him and make him turn up to be a villain when he really was just following the village's orders. Sasuke had a look of anger in his eyes, but he controlled his rage. Don't talk about my brother like you know him. I know him better than you do. Naruto has those eyes. I'm not interested. He channeled lightning chakra into his sword, ready to attack Black Zetsu. Disappointing, Zetsu said. Oh, well, not that it was unexpected. But I will return. He returned to the ground before Sasuke could attack him. Uzushiyogakure. The lone figure of Yujito stopped walking within the streets and looked up into the clear sky. There was a chilly breeze at this time in the village. It was perhaps because the village was surrounded by waters. She was strangely becoming familiar with everything. The street was in its usual form of bubbles. Children walked around with their parents while some brats ran through. Academy classes were over, so they were free to run loose. Shops were open, people went in and out. Yujito had never taken part in the festivities within the village. She had always observed from a distance. Maybe she did not want to end up liking the atmosphere a little too much. But no one bothered her. Not even the people from the leader or the emperor. She was just left alone to do as she pleased. One of the little things that Yujito had come to realize when walking around this village was that the Uzumaki were truly nobles. It was not that they walked around with their chests puffed up in arrogance of their status. No, they mingled with people and were much more energetic than others. But when it came to romantic relationships, they did not mix. It didn't seem to bother anyone else as they were good people. It was still not something that was not practiced by other clans. She had also noted that most people came here from different lands. There were those from Ame and some from Nadashiko. And some were just lost people the empire brought in and fed. The village was really charitable. Everyone had a home. Overall, the village was a good place to live. Still, there was no place quite like home. Yujito had missed the mountains of the cloud. She had missed the terrain and the people at her home. She truly longed to be there. But she could not leave, not unless the emperor permitted it. Yujito focused on the road ahead and continued walking. She walked past some people, greeting some along the way. She stopped close to a ramen stand, seeing the emperor sitting there. He looked just like a normal person. The people loved him, she had noticed as much. He was their emperor. To the Uzumaki, he was like a god. To the little ones, he was even greater than a god. They were being told of his amazing power in the war with stone and cloud. The versions were not exaggerations, but they did leave out the bloody trail of corpses he left behind. It was understandable. You did not want to traumatize the little ones with such images. She walked towards the ramen stand and then sat on a stool on the emperor's right side. Oddly enough, despite holding her captive in this village and killing many people from her village, Yujito did not hate him, not even a little. Should you be sitting here like this? Naruto eyed Yujito for a moment with a raised brow and then asked. Why not? You are the emperor. Some of these people worship you. I'm not a god. I can be normal. You don't expect me to start avoiding bars because I am the emperor, do you? Yujito stared at him. Naruto chuckled lightly. When you stand too far away from your people, they only see you through the lenses of what they hear. In this case, they would only see me through what they hear about my achievements in the battlefield. If I allowed such a situation, adoration could become fear, especially if I just kept a straight face along the way. I don't want my people to come to the point where they fear even looking at me. I want them to be free to greet me without fear of death. If they respect me, it should not only because of my position but because of what I am to them. Yujito did not respond immediately. She made her order and eyed him out the corner of her eyes. He was sensible at times. Well, it was no wonder these people loved him. You're admittedly a good leader. I'm sure not many people would want to hear that. You mean your village and Iwagakure? Yujito refused to comment on this, but it was her thought. How was the summit? She asked a bit hesitantly, perhaps afraid to find out any bad news about her village. According to plan, Kyumo and Iwa are retreating, but I will still be facing the Kage, in a battle of death. They will most certainly die if they cannot defeat or outrun me. Naruto said firmly. Have you come to a favorable decision? Yujito did not take time to respond. Her response came a bit too quickly than she would have liked. She meant every word nevertheless. I cannot betray my village. I love Kumo even with all its faults. This is a good place. No doubt I'd be happy here if I learned to adapt, but I have a home. I suffered for Kumo, and I will not let it be for nothing. Naruto sighed. It is truly difficult to change people once they become loyal to something unless they are traitorous people. You're not mad? Disappointed, yes, but your rejection of my affections is hardly surprising. Naruto responded with a nonchalant shrug of his shoulders. Oh. Yujito mouthed before asking. What will happen to me? I'll return you home once the war is over. I have already achieved my objective anyway. Your presence here is no longer necessary, but it will work best if you are returned after the war. Aside from keeping me away from the war, what else did you want? Naruto smiled. Well, you like Uzumaki, don't you? You'll have good things to say about us when you return home. Of course, it will depend on whether the new leaders will be able to take your word. I still won't complain if you are treated as a traitor. You could still return here. And prove them true? You'd go through the process of being called a traitor? I was hated for being a Jinchuriki, no one trusted me, and I was trained like a weapon. Nothing will be worse than that. Naruto shook his head. Are you macho? He asked calmly. Well, that is your decision to make. I would not take that route. You don't always have to suffer just to prove people wrong. At a certain point, you must say it is enough and look at other things. I have my share of suffering and pain. I don't want to live through that again and would not wish for anyone to go through it. You can easily lose your mind. But Jinchuriki resists because of the desire to form friendships and to be accepted. The world would be an unpleasant place if all Jinchuriki turned against their villages and wielded the mask of vengeance. Kirigakure. You should just find an apartment and come to live with us, Mei said to Haku with a small smile on her lips. Haku shared the smile as he walked towards the Mizukage, who was sitting behind her desk in her office. He did not say anything until he sat down. If I did not have a home already, I would not mind that, but my visits are a little more forced because of the situation. I cannot leave Naruto alone because he will go through with his most reckless ideas, he said with a slight shake of his head. It was simple for these people to simply call him Naruto, but Mei found it difficult to call him that, not with everything he has done. He was the emperor. He had created a name for himself. There was possibly no shinobi who hasn't heard of his name now. He would die a legend in the shinobi world. If he doesn't end up dying in battle, he would certainly live a long life. The Uzumaki were known for this after all. Water daimyo issue? Mei frowned just thinking about it. Fortunately, due to Yagura's reign and the civil war, we haven't had to depend on the daimyo's support, but he still holds influence, and it would be a lie if I said we did not need his support. Still no changes? He would not listen to anything I say. Perhaps Iwa got to him before we did. He seems positive that the wave will become a threat. It has not stopped growing, and once the war ends, it will continue to grow at an accelerated rate. We have already discussed this and set some terms to ensure we all benefit from our locations. A partnership is more worthwhile and beneficial to both sides. He doesn't see that, he just wants everything for himself, Mei said before heaving a long sigh. She put on a serious look before asking. The Emperor will order his death if things stay like this, won't he? That was the plan, or we could just manipulate him. The Godaime Mizukage leaned back in her chair and put on a thoughtful mask for a minute. Once her thoughts settled, she responded. I can use threats to make him listen. There has always been that option, but I held off from doing it because of the consequences that could arise, but it seems I have no option. This is an internal matter, I don't want the Empire getting involved. You afraid we may end up controlling this country? There is that thought, Mei admitted. If I take this route, I will need you to be open with me. I will be putting my trust in you, that means you will back us up in case we come across some problems. I am also working on other things to help negate the consequences that may come. You have my word, Mizukage, the Empire will not abandon you. If you need assistance, we will help where we can. Uzumaki. I have been waiting for you, Naruto said to Haku as the ice user walked into the throne room. When he had reached a good distance, Haku kneeled before the Emperor and then responded. I had some business to attend with Kirigakure, but I have returned. I must say, news of your fame is spreading rather quickly. Is there someone pushing for it to spread this quickly? Naruto wasn't concerned about fame or glory. Maybe it wasn't a bad thing to be known throughout the lands, but being famous was not the main point at this stage. There were much more fundamental issues that he needed his attention. War was not over. Even when it would end, there would still be more work to be done. The groundwork was done nevertheless. I have not made such an order, Yoshino must have done it, Naruto answered. Was your visit fruitful? Haku nodded. I will hear from the Mizukage soon, but it was fruitful. We should no longer be concerned. We will nevertheless have to put more effort with Kirigakure in the near future should things become difficult for them. I will compile a report and submit it tomorrow. More things to read. Naruto shook his head. You have never complained about such things before. I'm not complaining, the Emperor responded. Once things are set, I cannot have you leaving my side, Haku. Originally, Naori and Naoki were meant to be my guards, but the clan decided to change things and Naoki was sent for Karin. Nora is the messenger, but he spends too much time away from me handling intelligence and executing other things. Naori was forced to complete 2 jobs. I want to release him from being my guard once we are no longer at war. You will serve as both my number 2 and my personal guard. You've never actually needed a guard. Things change. You don't know what the future holds. My body has been corrupted by the many seals that I placed on myself. Perhaps I failed to understand what would happen if I died with the seals binding chakra from leaving my body. Though dead, my body was very much alive. I cannot always be ready for battle. I know. Have you tried removing some seals? I have but failed miserably. I won't admit this to the Uzumaki. I would be a laughingstock. I made too many that they have now formed a complex set of routes that I can't just untangle without making something go wrong. It isn't that it is impossible, but I would need someone's unique eyes. Pride? Something like that, Naruto said. I didn't take you for the kind to be held up by pride. Naruto stood up from the throne and slowly walked toward Haku. I don't say this often, but Fuinjutsu is the only thing I hold on to for being Uzumaki. As you already know, some of these people don't even treat me as an Uzumaki because my father was not Uzumaki. The laws we have even put in place was discriminatory. But I am not concerned for that. My seals make me feel worthy of carrying the Uzumaki name. Haku stood up before responding. It bothers you, he said with surprise. He smiled, finding it amusing that Naruto held such feelings. Well, this is the Uzumaki Clan, I should not be surprised. This isn't a funny matter, Naruto said before putting a hand on Haku's shoulder. They disappeared in the blink of an eye. They appeared in the middle of a training ground away from the village. Trees surrounded the training ground. There was silence even so. Haku looked around for a moment before facing Naruto, who had already created some distance between them. Sparring session? Yes, Naruto said with a small nod of his head. A real one this time around. You will be fighting most of my battles once the war is over. I have already displayed my strength, but you have not. The shinobi world must know of your strength as well. I will put you under pressure, and I expect you respond. Haku was only concerned about Naruto's fighting capacity when the war ends. He took time to recover from battles where had exerted too much power. Without any Uzumaki backing him and the possibility of fighting 2 Jinchuriki, he would need to be at 100%. He could voice his thoughts, but it was only Naruto who knew his body best. It still didn't make him any less worried. Don't be concerned, Naruto said with a wave of his right hand. Keeping Sage Mode activated does help me replenish my chakra a bit quickly. I have even stored enough natural chakra in me to battle for days, only if my body will allow me. So, no holding back. Yes, no holding back. Haku nodded. He hadn't done this in quite some time. Naruto was also not the kind of person he wanted to fight in a serious battle. Going all out in ninjutsu would just give him a massive disadvantage if he could not do any harm. Fighting at a close range would do it. Haku's instincts kicked in when he sensed some movement. Naruto was no longer in the spot he had been in moments ago. His eyes scanned around for a second and he glared just in front of him. Naruto appeared in the blink of an eye in front of Haku. He was slightly above the ground, body leaned forward a bit with his right hand, held out slightly with a fist formed. Before he could throw the punch, he suddenly disappeared along silent gusts. Haku sensed the movements and snapped his right fingers. An ice mirror formed behind him. Naruto flashed just when the mirror formed. His punch crashed into the wall. The Emperor only smiled when his punch hit the mirror, and it did not even budge. He felt a tinge of pain, but it was nothing serious. Hayatan ice needles! Naruto's eyes opened slightly when he sensed the buildup of chakra. He retreated and leapt into the air while jumping backwards, hands held together. While he was airborne, multiple ice needles shot out from the mirror. He watched them weave through the air as they reared towards him menacingly. Katan, Great Fireball no Jutsu! Naruto inhaled some air, and then exhaled a monstrous ball of flames that created a shadow over Haku. The ice needles were hit by the intense flames and melted upon being consumed. Haku had more or less expected Naruto to use a fire jutsu to avoid those needles. He was using ninjutsu at the beginning even when he had said he should not. Well, he had no choice since Naruto dictated the flow of the battle. He needed to gain that control before engaging close up. He held a single-hand seal. Triple demonic mirroring crystals. While still airborne, Naruto's senses picked up something. A mirror appeared above and another below him. He quickly cancelled his fire jutsu and held out both his hands. Wind started to gather around him before forming a shield of tornado around him. Ice splinters shot out of the mirrors, rushing towards him from both sides. In the blink of an eye, the ice was upon him and crashed into the rotating winds. They were soon spat out to other directions. The tornado flashed to the ground, hitting in a small explosion that picked up debris from the ground. When the winds around Naruto dispersed, Haku charged towards him, running through the ground. After a couple of steps, he suddenly disappeared. Naruto looked up when Haku appeared above. The ice user was flashing the back of his foot towards his head. He raised both hands and folded them just in time to block the kick. He winced slightly when the foot connected with his hands. It felt like he had just been hit by a stone of ice. He pushed back slightly, forcing Haku to leap backwards into the air. Haku timed everything correctly and opened his mouth the moment he leapt backwards. He released a smoke screen of ice that spread through the atmosphere before Naruto could move from his position. When he landed down, the air was cold. He could see his breath as his body started generating heat to keep his body warm. Naruto held out his right hand. "What is the name of this jutsu?" he asked curiously. "It is similar to the one you used to freeze Kumo Shinobi at the bridge in the wave? The atmosphere has changed. It is a little difficult to breathe and the air is heavy. It affects my control over wind but nothing I cannot overcome. It is not fair that you are able to analyze ninjutsu like that. I have been around you for some time in the Battleground, and I once grew an interest in trying learn Hayatan. Are you ready then?" Haku held out his right hand. Naruto took a stance and smiled. "I am." But before Haku could make a move, Naori flashed behind him. "There is a situation, Your Majesty," he said in a serious tone. Naruto straightened up, wearing an expressionless mask. "Haku, we will pick up some time. It seems that we cannot indulge ourselves in this situation," he said. "What?" "Yoshino is waiting for you in the throne room along with Naoki." "Bring Haku," the Emperor said before disappearing in the blink of an eye. He appeared on the throne with that expressionless mask on his face. He stared down at the kneeling Yoshino while waiting for Haku and Naori to appear. They appeared after a couple of seconds. Haku knelt beside Yoshino while Naori walked to the throne. "Naoki," Naruto called. The Uzumaki materialized on the left side of the throne. "Your Majesty. I assume you are the one with the news." "Yes," Naoki said. "We caught 3 shinobi from Iwagakure within the Wave Country. But they committed suicide before we could interrogate them. We don't know what they were doing or if it was just the 3 of them, but what is certain is that they had been here for more than a week." "And nobody noticed them?" "Well, the wave is not protected like Yuzu. It is easy for people to sneak into the country. You said no to barriers because it would just confuse people as there were a lot of people who were always coming into the country. We just kept watch of the leader and important buildings," Naoki explained. Naruto frowned deeply. "Yoshino, what do you think?" "That they were plotting something. We can be sure that there is indeed something that they did. The fact that they went as far as to kill themselves to avoid being interrogated meant that they did not want us to find out what they did, or if there are more people." Naruto nodded. "Haku? It is concerning that they managed to sneak in and be able to move about, but I share everyone's concerns. The wave could be in trouble, but we cannot be sure." Naruto tapped his finger on the throne while thinking. More than a minute went by while the only sound coming was from his fingers. "What of Uzushio?" "I cannot say, but the measures we took, nobody should be able to come in unless they are civilian. But since the war started, we have not welcomed people we do not know. The only way to enter is through the bridge or by ship. Yet, seeing this, I cannot be sure that no one has not slipped through. There will always be a flaw in something created by men. Nora is currently busy with the issue of Kuratsuchi. We cannot allow the Uzumaki forces to leave this village. As you have said, we don't know what may have slipped through. With Nora busy, he cannot come now. Naoki, go to Ama and request some experienced shinobi from Nagato. Teleport them to the wave and snuff out the danger. Take Shiro with you, he is a better sensory type than Karin. He should find any other shinobi if they are there. If they are using shinobi, Yoshino added in a serious tone. That is a possibility. We also use civilians for some covert operations that do not require fighting. If that is the case, and there is something those people did, we are screwed. They will likely know we are moving and take measures to avoid us. But I trust you will succeed, Naoki. Of course, Your Majesty. I will depart now, he said before disappearing in a flash. Naruto rested his head on the palm of his right hand before speaking. It seems I have made an oversight in judgment. I did not consider that such a thing would occur even when I knew that Stone and Cloud would not waste time laying siege in the wave. We were focused on Uzushio. We have always saw it as the bigger picture, Yoshino said. Indeed, if anything happens, this can be blamed on me. It did seem like Naoki was already blaming me, Naruto said with a slight shake of his head. Must we make a visit somewhere, Naori? Yes, we have Nadashiko. We cannot cancel that visit, Naruto said. But we will not be gone for long. I trust that you have put measures in place in case of emergency. If the compound must be used, then so be it. I will unlock the door to the throne room in the pocket dimension just in case. I will activate maximum security barriers, but things in the village will not change. That is fine, we don't want anything to scare the people. Will you need Haku? No, he should be with you. The message from Stone and Cloud could arrive even as we speak. Let us hope it does not, Naruto said before closing his eyes. Do what you must, Yoshino. Yes, Your Majesty, the man said before vanishing into thin air. Haku stood up and stared at Naruto with a curious look. If something ends up happening, it would be a disaster, but it would still be a nasty move from Iwagakure. The wave was defenseless, and had not threatened anyone. It was associated with them but was not involved in the war. If Anoki was indeed targeting it to hurt them, Haku would be disappointed in humans, Kage to be particular. To simply wish harm for innocent civilians was just wrong and evil. People should not think like that. I didn't think they would resort to such a measure. This is the shinobi world. Winner determines everything. We are branded by win or lose. And for a win, shinobi will do everything, anything, and they will justify. We must think of such things. Just because we are not willing to lay siege on other villages and destroy everything does not mean that other people are not willing to do it. Still, Haku shook his head. I saw some things while with Zabuza-sama, but this will be a new scale. What are you going to do about it? I have not thought of making any plans, Naruto said calmly. Even if something happens, I don't know if I will make them pay. I just want us to get to the finishing line. He opened his eyes and spoke once more. You'll go with me to Nadashiko. I'll introduce you to those people. Naori, you'll stay here and summon us if there is something that needs our immediate attention. Amegakure. The ever-raining village. These days, it rained heavily and constantly. The whispers of discontent were growing by the day, but Nagato could not stop it. Not when they were at war. Iwa's forces were marching through the lands, returning home. There was no guarantee that they would not move towards this village. Spies could try to come through. Vigilance was a necessary precaution at this point. If he blinked, this village could fall. The peace he had fought to protect would be destroyed. He could not have that. He could not watch everything he built be destroyed. Complaints didn't matter. But one day, it would all stop. Konan walked towards the balcony where Nagato stood. She stopped at his right side and looked at the heavy drops slamming down the village. Do you think they may come here? We are not certain. They do seem to be going home. They have also declared us enemies they cannot fight, but we don't know what will happen tomorrow. It would be against the agreement made in the Kage summit if they go that path. Agreements have always been torn apart when it was convenient. That was just how the shinobi world worked. Nagato had always been cautious about these people, and he'd continue to be so. At least he did not have to worry about Naruto falling prey to nice words and empty promises. He did have his reservations at first, but everything was clear. Things should move in the right direction now, and we will finally enjoy our peace. Once the war ends, it will be within our grasp, Nagato added. Konan did not offer a response but narrowed her eyes behind when she heard footsteps. She saw Naoki walking towards them in slow, purposeful steps. What brings you here? Nagato asked while Konan remained silent, just watching the Uzumaki. His Majesty has sent me with a request. There is a bit of a situation within the wave. We want to handle it before anything happens. What situation? It is possible that the wave may go into flames and Iwa shinobi or agents are running through the country. There is a possibility that they are planning something. We caught some who then killed themselves. We want to hunt down those who are possibly still there, and find out if those who killed themselves have planted something so we can disarm it. What is the request? Experienced shinobi skilled with tracking. Don't you have them? Busy with other things. Some are with Guren and the others are with Noroi. We cannot afford to permit the others to depart from Uzushio because there might also be dangers there. Conan, help him, Nagato instructed. I will stop the rain for a little while to help you work faster. Conan was gone for about 15 minutes with Naoki. Nagato remained by the balcony, observing everything. When she returned to the tower, he did hand seals to start with the rain. Naruto knows this jutsu, why does he not use it? He could create a clone while in sage mode, and that should help things quicker. It would take away focus. There is the issue that it may be civilians in the wave. He tracks chakra far better than anyone using senjutsu, but there are people better suited for that. We should not think this might not happen here. We must put extra eyes until we are certain there is no danger. Nadashiko. The village stood atop of hills, surrounded by a large forest. Haku had never been here before. As far as he was concerned, the people here would never give him entry unless he was with Naruto. Some Uzumaki had come here though. The village still had strict laws about men entering here. They stood on a bridge connecting the hills. There was no one there, just the two of them. He stared below for a moment before glancing at Naruto. You never did tell me how you came across this village, or the situation in which you had to marry Shizuka. I guess I can thank Jiraiya for making it happen. But it would have still occurred anyway. Shizuka had to fight someone who was a student of Jiraiya and win that battle to force that person into marriage with her. We came across her while we were still thinking about whether we should fight Kirigakure or just leave it. Nadashiko was closer and could have been useful. When we came across her, I took the opportunity and defeated her. It was my luck. Once I marry her, I can effectively take over Nadashiko. Wait. Haku faced Naruto with surprise. You never told me that you had plans to fight Kiri. That was shocking considering everything he has known. And he has been at Uzushio for some years now, and he'd never heard about this. But then again, the battle lines were drawn way before he was revived in the land hidden in whirlpools. There was no plan, just a thought, Naruto said with a wave of his right hand. The laws of this village work a bit differently. Weak men are not wanted here. You must dominate the woman to take her hand. I guess that suits you perfectly, Haku said. How did you come across her? Noroi did some groundwork and found out what had to be done. We did not know about the issue with Jiraiya, but she told us when we met her and we're glad, Naruto said as he turned his head to the right. He saw Shizuka walking towards them along with someone. We are not going to enter the village now, but you'll eventually see it. We don't even want to spend much time here. Tokiwa was the first to speak after she reached them along with Shizuka. She knelt on one knee and greeted the Emperor. Your Majesty, it is good to see you again. Likewise, Naruto said before turning to face Shizuka with a smile. The woman did not share his smile, causing him to shake his head. He still cut the distance between them and hugged her a bit tightly. Shizuka. Your Majesty. Her voice was low, she was still a woman with a closed heart. Pain did do wonders to people. It was not pleasant to have someone like that. The people that surrounded him were lively. He could be suffocating at times, he did need to have people who could give him some light. Naruto separated from Shizuka and pointed at Haku. That is Haku, he is my right-hand man. It is no longer Yoshino? Shizuka asked. Yoshino is dealing with other things, Naruto said. You still look as miserable as before. I'd hope you'd have grown out of that shell. Well, it is not like I am doing anything to change the situation. Shizuka stared at the man who defeated her. Her green eyes were glaring with a question, but she did not voice it. The words were surprising to hear from him. He had presented himself as a kind person, but she could not say he was. She had agreed to marry him because of tradition and nothing more. She looked away from him and moved closer to the edge of the bridge. She placed her arms on the walls, leaning a bit while staring down. You want to do something? Naruto moved closer to her. He leaned on the walls with his back while watching her through the corner of his eyes. I am going to be your husband. Perhaps it is not the kind of romantic story you had dreamed of while still young, but if you want to make something possible, you can. Happiness is something you create yourself. You cannot allow your past to bind you. Doing that, you just become miserable, unable to see the road ahead. Don't think it is impossible to love again. You are not affording yourself the opportunity. Give yourself that chance and you will live without regrets. It would be hard when you are not even around here. We can make arrangements. I am still fighting a war, but once we are done with it, you will see me. My subordinates will say I am cold, but I have a heart. As stated in the letter we sent you, we just want to reassure you that we will make good on the agreement. We have not forgotten. He smiled. I hope no one is trying to challenge you. I'd be disappointed if that was the case. Shizuka managed a small smile. It is hard for anyone to challenge me when I tell them I have already been defeated by the Emperor. At least my name keeps some pests away, Naruto said with a smile. We have a bit of a situation at home, we will not stay long. But I don't want you miserable. I will come again, we shall eat, drink and be merry. That sounds good. You don't have energy, but that is okay. He spoke to her for a couple of more minutes, telling her about the war. She had some questions which he answered. Once they were done talking, he bid her farewell and watched her leave with Tokiwa. He then turned to the silent Haku, who was giving him a questioning look. Are you really interested in her happiness? I am offended that you of all people would question me, Haku. You're often a logical being. Haku responded with nonchalance. It is going to take some doing. I'm surprised you'd speak of happiness. I only ever see you laughing and smiling when Karin is around. Everyone wants their peace and salvation, Naruto responded. Maybe I can make it work for her and me. You never know. But admittedly, I am not too focused on her happiness. I just realized that strong relationships with mutual trust need happiness in them to cement their status. Unhappiness leads to thoughts of betrayal. If Shizuka is content with her life with me, she has no regrets, the people around her see me as a friend. But if miserable, the people around her become distrustful of my treatment of her, and we could be in trouble. Hence my question, Haku said. Naruto ignored this. Nadashiko has many beautiful and powerful kunoichi. If you want, you can look around and challenge someone. I would not complain if you made this your second home. You're not going to let this go, are you? No, you need to marry, have kids of your own and enjoy being human. I also need little ice users to restore your clan. Maybe I will give it a try. You say maybe as if you have a choice. You are going to do this, even if I have to compel you. You made that obvious before. Then we will have no complaints when you must deliver. While I think things will be a little different after the war, the peace can only last for a few years before something happens and people forget our power. You cannot wait for there to be a favorable time, you must create one. You paint a bleak picture of the state of things, Haku said in a quiet tone. It is a reality we must accept, Haku. But the reason we have come this far is because we want to avoid things becoming dangerous again. It does not mean we will not face dangers again. As we age, more stronger people will come, and we must be ready for it. There might even be someone who is training now to surpass my power. Haku frowned deeply. It wasn't that unthinkable. Naruto was skilled, but so were other people. Shinobi were driven by different reasons. Haku hoped there would be no one strong as Naruto at this generation. The world was not ready for it. Fortunately, each generation had its special people who were considered gods of shinobi. He hoped Naruto was the only one and there would be no relics from the past coming back to haunt them. Days later. Unknown location. Anoki didn't smile seeing the Raikage. They were ready for a battle to death with the Emperor, but the reason he was not smiling was that the man only brought his brother with him. He had said so before, but Anoki thought since he has said he would bring two with him, the man would follow his example. He was quick to voice his thoughts when he reached the man. You only brought your brother. I had stated my intentions before, I said with nonchalance. Are you afraid the Emperor will not be taken down with what we have? He asked in a slightly mocking tone. Strong as he was, Naruto could not possibly fight them all and win. He had the speed and B had the firepower. He was confident in their chances of claiming victory. If he didn't think they could win, he would not have even come this far. Why fight when you had no confidence of winning? I'd remind you that it was the fact that we underestimated him that we have been brought to this situation. He has made us look like fools. People will start questioning if we are really strong. We just have to defeat him. It won't be that easy. Last time we faced him, he fooled around with us before walking away. You should take away your confidence in your speed and think this through clearly. We are going there as a team and we must win this, no matter what. I am not going to let your overconfidence ruin us both. I glared at the small figure of the Tsuchikage for a couple of moments before speaking. My team is stronger than yours. You have no other reason to complain, I said sternly. How are things at your end? Everything is proceeding as planned. Even if things don't go as planned, we can be sure this will work. The Water Lord hasn't been moving as I would like. It appears that Kiri has been getting involved. If the village had agreed on siding with us, we would have hit Uzumaki already. It can still happen. We may not move now, but eventually, they will open their gates and we will strike, Anoki said with confidence. For now, we face with Emperor. And we will win. For the sake of our villages, we must. The others seemed to favor the Emperor. If Naruto won against them, he could move towards their villages and that would be disastrous. If he was able to win, the others would not be able to stop him. He certainly knew this. Chapter 23, The Tall Emperor. Kakashi had only returned the day before, but he was truly glad that they ended up not fighting in the war. Past experiences with war had not been pleasant. Then again, there was never anything good about war. It was just chaos, destruction, and pain. Only those without emotional attachment and an obsession for chaos found peace in such situations. Kakashi had experienced enough of it. The everyday life of a shinobi was already filled with many hardships. The current generation has grown up in a time of peace. They did not experience what he had experienced. At least they had been spared from pain. Yet in this world, nothing was certain. It was perhaps right to say they only avoided it today. If Stone and Cloud won against the Emperor, they could try to turn on them. Even if they don't do it now, they would eventually do it. The agreement between Sand and Leaf to make things hard for the Stone would certainly not be allowed to enter the memory lanes. They might come to their senses now simply because they want to survive, but they would return to pay back the humiliation. It was all about surviving for another day, wasn't it? Kakashi shook his head as he hopped through rooftops. He came to a halt when he arrived at his destination. He settled peacefully on the roof and took out his book. A minute later, Yugao climbed up to the roof, in white pants and a purple long-sleeved t-shirt. The former Umbu captain looked at her with a raised eyebrow. I don't usually see you without your Umbu gear. It surprises me when you are casual. Yugao shrugged nonchalantly and settled on the Jonin's right side. Still reading those books, I see, she commented. A couple of pages at a time. Jiraiya-sama hasn't been releasing anything recently, Kakashi said with clear disappointment. He then beamed up slightly. He did say he was going to come up with a new series. I can't wait for it to be released. Yugao shook her head. At least you did not pass this on to your students. Are all powerful shinobi really perverts? The Sandaime was one. Jiraiya-sama is a self-proclaimed super pervert. And while it is not a known factor about him, Naruto does love women a little too much. Kakashi smiled. Maybe. Then, what do you want, senpai? Kakashi eyed Yugao with a hurt look. Can't I just come to check out my former subordinate? Yugao stared. Kakashi sighed deeply. It is about Naruto. He shook his head. Perhaps it would be correct to say the Emperor. He is no longer the same kid who used to be on my team. He is different now, a world-known shinobi with a flea on sight ranking. I guess to you he was once normal. Ever since the Sandaime Hokage called me into his home to talk to about him, I'd always seen him differently. He was certainly not a child. When it comes to power, he'd always been strong. I don't know if he sealed a portion of his mind about the power he had or if he just pretended. But from what the Sandaime said, he was stronger. Yugao responded in thought. Why do you want to talk about him? She asked. The Stone and Cloud have retreated, but he is going to battle the Kages of both villages. What happens after that? That assumption is that he wins the battle. I am more interested in what happens in his relationship with our village. Yugao debated on whether she should answer the question. She shook her head. There was nothing secret about what was going to happen. Besides, Kakashi did hold some interest since Naruto was the son of his former sensei. She has hidden this for long now. Most of all, he was going to succeed Tsunade as Hokage. He did have the right to know. The hope is that things are worked out to the point where Uzumaki and Konoha enjoy a fruitful relationship. At this point, we are most interested in Uzumaki, not the Empire in general. Why? Because that is the only thing that Naruto will kill anyone to protect. His love for his village succeeds anything else in his life. Shikaku-san has concluded that much. When you look at what he has done, it has always been for his clan. Well, Naruto's love for the Uzumaki clan had ever been questioned. He had never even hidden that himself. I see, Kakashi said. It would not be bad visiting Uzumaki and maybe stay there for a little while. But I do wonder if Naruto will permit it. Yugao eyed the Jonin. You are not just saying that because you want to escape from your responsibilities, are you? I know Tsunade-sama plans to hand over the mantle to you, Yugao stated in a serious tone. The mood around Kakashi seemed to deflate the moment Yugao stopped talking. I'm really not ready for that. You're always not ready for anything, Yugao said with a shrug. I'll be the one heading to Uzumaki. I will see what happens then, but I will probably take up residency there. But it will only be after the war. Spying on the Emperor? Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow. What makes you think that? Why else would you of all people go to live in Uzumaki? Kakashi asked. If I do end up becoming Hokage, I would not approve that mission. It gives those people in Uzumaki a reason to be distrustful of us when Naruto has been playing nice despite every reason to turn on us. Yugo smiled. You've always been able to see what is between the lines, sensei. Either way, I'll follow orders given to me. But I will admit that I have the same thought as you do. The Emperor has been forthcoming and truthful to the agreement he made with the Sandaime Hokage. I also fear that if he discovers such a thing, he'd kill me without thinking twice, but I still cannot disobey a direct order. We will see what happens. At least they will put me in charge. I still haven't had that full discussion with Tsunade-sama, Kakashi said. Land of hot water. It was truly a shame that this country was being used as a battlefield for a war that they had nothing to with. But this was how things worked in the shinobi world. The small countries were always the victims who hosted and suffered from battles they did not fight. Amegakure had been used constantly. It was no wonder Hanzo had taken a firm stand against any shinobi moving through his country. Of course, there was that friendship with Danzo, but the war hawk was poisonous. Perhaps things could have been different for Nagato and his friends without Danzo sticking his nose in their business. But then again, there was Obito to consider. That man would have done everything in his power to make sure Nagato followed him. The terrain was lifeless. The air was hot even though they were within the land of hot water. Every country had its parts where the environment seemed to disagree with the name of the country. Either way, this was a good place for battle. Naruto looked up into the tall boulders that surrounded the clearing. There was truly no tree as far as the eye could see. Gathering natural energy at such a place would be difficult. But at least he had enough chakra stored in the seals to keep him going in case the battle took longer than expected. He was also hoping to enjoy himself. The Iwa group stood atop of a hill on his left, while the Cloud were on his right side. These people were ready. He could feel their intent. It was good. It made him feel slightly excited for battle. The past battles were completely boring. He was only doing a slaughter, but here, he was going to do battle. And he was going to have a thrill, as long as they didn't end up disappointing him. Anoki looked down at the Emperor. He was wearing an armor, 2 swords sticking out on both his shoulders. He was stated to use a lightning and wind sword, and was rather good at using both. What could he not do? He was a shinobi who seemed to know all shinobi arts. Jinchuriki often depend on the power of their bijou, but he was a different case. What made him strong was not that he was carrying a bijou, it was his skills and the abnormal chakra levels. He motioned for Rashi and Akatsuchi to follow before jumping down to the ground. The second he landed, the Cloud duo also landed besides them. Let us talk for a bit, shall we? I will not have any other conversations with you because once we start fighting, you will surely die, the Kages at least. And I will not accept your surrender. I snorted. We would never surrender to you. Don't be so full of yourself to think you can actually defeat us all in this battle. Naruto smiled as he responded. Well, it would be embarrassing if I cannot defeat you. But unless it cannot be helped, I will not summon the Kyuubi. Can you even control all its power? Naruto smiled. Let us not get into that. We are at war and you have lost many men. Right now, their families cry out in pain. Surely, as the one who killed them, I am the one who gets blamed and hated. I think that it is unfair that I get to be blamed for your decisions. Enough of this, Anoki exclaimed with impatience. We did not come here to discuss anything with you, we came to battle. You need not be so impatient to meet your death, Anoki. This is your last hour in the shinobi world, you should really try to enjoy this moment and maybe reflect on your mistakes. Good points. Anoki glared. He had made mistakes. Everyone made mistakes. Perhaps starting this war had been a mistake to begin with. He had lost far much more than he had thought. He was even now facing death, and it was a decision he took that led to this. The last time things had gone so well. They had destroyed Uzumaki and Konoha had looked the other way to avoid getting caught in the middle. We all make mistakes. You can't say you haven't made any mistakes either. I never said I don't make mistakes. We are flawed beings, repeating the same things we do. I have made my mistakes, but the problem with you is that you never admit your mistakes. You will never say you are wrong. You still maintain that destroying Uzumaki was the right decision. Anoki shook his head. Perhaps if things hadn't come to this point, there would be more to talk about. It is actually when you face death that you get to think deep. But talking here will not change anything. Indeed. Then let us do this. Naruto didn't waste time activating Sage Mode. He would not be taking any unnecessary risks. Besides, there were 2 Kages, 2 Jinchurikis, and an experienced shinobi who could very well be a Kage if things favored him. These 5 opponents didn't need him to take it easy on them. He needed to be serious. He could not enjoy it either if he was not being serious. Once Sage Mode was activated, he released potent chakra that burst out like a wave of wind. It picked up some dust around him. It only took a couple of seconds for everything to settle down. B only shook his head. That was no weakling. The chakra was as potent as that of a bijou. Hardly surprising though, Naruto housed the Kyuubi, the most powerful bijou in existence. He still grinned though. This was certainly going to be a blast. Killer B, the Hachibian brother, the Rai entering the stage in a combo. This is gonna be blast, yeah. Did that come out right? No, there was something wrong about that. B adopted a thoughtful look on his face as he tried to fix his lyrics. I smacked him on his right shoulder while glaring. This is no time for your nonsense, B. You just felt it now, that is no normal person we are facing. I need you to be serious. All the more reasons we shouldn't hurry. I activated his lightning cloak and disappeared in a blur without responding. He did not want to waste time just lingering around without doing anything. He certainly didn't want to give the Emperor the advantage of making the first move and be able to control the flow of battle. The Emperor had shown it in their previous engagement that although he was no yellow flash, he was still ridiculously quick. With his senses heightened, Naruto could feel the flow chakra within the area. He could feel the movements. It wasn't like with the Byakugan where you had the entire field of vision, or the ability of the Sharingan to predict movements. With Sage Mode, his instincts became one with his senses. He was ultimately in a true fighting mode. At times, he did think it was not fair fighting using Senjutsu. When I flashed on his right side, slightly above the ground, Body leaned forward with his right shoulder bulging slightly as he moved his right hand toward the Emperor's in the blink of an eye. His fist blasted the air to the sides as it moved towards the target. Naruto swiftly dodged the punch by ducking under. He felt some wind slap onto his head, but did not think deeply about. He waved his right hand towards the Raikage's chest. Before he could connect, the man disappeared in a blur. I appeared above Naruto, hands held together. As gravity started to pull him down, he raised both hands above his hand and then started slamming them down. He watched as Naruto swiftly straightened himself. The Emperor raised both his hands just above his head and then folded them, all while without looking at him. There was a loud boom as the ground exploded when his attack collided with the Emperor's defense. The attack failed to break through as the Emperor held firmly. I stretched his right foot with greater flexibility and tried to kick the Emperor on the left side of his chest. Naruto saw the kick being swung and stopped trying to defend. He pulled away and leapt backward slightly. When he landed on the ground, his eyes shifted around to see if anyone else had moved. Once satisfied, he took off like a bullet, rushing towards the Raikage. I was a little surprised at Naruto's speed when he lunged at him. He should not have been surprised, but the Emperor's speed was still something he could not quite grasp. How did he even get so powerful? He didn't allow his surprise to leave him rooted to the ground. He too took off, rushing to meet the Emperor head-on. His left leg crashed to the ground while his right weaved the air, moving swiftly towards the Emperor's waist. The foot collided with the Emperor's, who'd done the same movement as him. The ground burst under the weight of the kick, with lightning sparkling from the collision as he had his cloak activated. I growled slightly when he realized that Naruto's strength wasn't something to scoff at. It had even felt as if he had hit a solid rock rather than a person. Naruto sensed a spike of chakra and looked up. He saw Killer Bee flipping several times while crashing downwards. He closed his eyes and then disappeared in a burst of wind. Even though the Emperor had disappeared in the blink of an eye, I still saw him and was able to follow him. The second he disappeared, Killer Bee crashed on the ground, lifting up debris. He had two swords stabbing into the ground before pulling them up as he straightened. It didn't hurt as much as it would have because of Senjutsu. The second he went through it, he saw AI's fist sneaking through the hole he'd created when bursting through. He reacted quickly to make a haste defense. The Raikage's punch went through his hands and hit him on the chest plate, propelling him backwards. Rashi watched as Naruto burst through the wall erected by Akatsuchi. He readied himself by holding both his hands. When the Raikage also appeared, attacking the Emperor, he did not stop but just went through hand seals, believing that the man was fast enough to dodge. Lava release, scorching rocks jutsu. He spat out multiple rocks of lava from his mouth. With Naruto being blasted towards him, he just stood and watched, but before any of the rocks could hit the Emperor, a violent force of wind suddenly pulled up around him, tearing through the ground while moving toward him. The wind turned into a violent tornado that pulled up the rocks before hurling them into different directions. Rashi was forced to jump to his right side when the tornado moved toward him. The tornado came to a halt after a couple of moments, and then dispersed. Naruto was standing calmly, a small smile on his lips. It works best when you all attack in coordination. This might be a little fun, it seems, Naruto stated, eerily calm. There was only the sound of lightning when I flashed in front of him, stabbing his right hand towards his chest. There will be no fun! Naruto's reaction was once more a shock to the Raikage. He jumped up in the blink of an eye, his body positioning horizontally before twisting around with his right hand held out. A Katon Rasengan formed and he tried to slam it onto the Raikage who was below him, but the man disappeared in a blur. His jutsu ended up crashing onto the ground. He blurred away, not wanting to be caught in the explosion. The moment he landed on the ground, he was attacked from behind. There was a sound of swords clashing, lightning currents sparkling when Bi flashed behind the Emperor. Naruto had both his hands around him, holding his swords. The lightning sword was held horizontally around his shoulders, with the tips of two of Bi's swords pressed against its blade. The wind was held in the same angle as the lightning but around his waist, it too was blocking swords from Bi. That was fast, yeah, but… Bi grinned. Rashi flashed in front of him in his lava cloak and then drove a lava punch towards his chest. Tis! He certainly could not move recklessly with Bi behind him. And if he allowed the punch to connect with him, he would certainly suffer and the man behind him would stab him with his remaining swords. It would be most unpleasant. Wind bullets! The Emperor inhaled large amounts of air and then spat out 3 invisible wind bullets from his mouth. Rashi only found himself being hit by the 3 bullets before he could reach the Emperor. 1 bullet slammed onto his forehead, while the others hit him on his chest. The sheer amount of force on the bullets left him seeing blurry images, feeling a bit disoriented, and he staggered to the ground, falling on one knee. Naruto eyed to his right side. Akatsuchi was standing a distance away, holding his hands together while gathering chakra. His focus was once more turned to the man behind him after he retreated slightly. But I flashed on his left side, flying in the air. The man spun around and kicked him on his right shoulder. The kick picked him from the ground, sending him flying to the sides. While still airborne, Bi flashed behind him, cloaked in the Hachibi's chakra. He drove a punch that blasted the winds to the sides as it targeted the Emperor's back. A single chakra chain burst from behind. Bi's fist collided with chain but did not break through it. But the force of his punch made the Emperor rocket towards Akatsuchi like lightning. Golem no Jutsu! The moment the Raikage kicked the Emperor, Akatsuchi activated his jutsu, and then lightened it to give it more speed. When the Emperor neared, the stone golem lifted its right leg and swung it towards him. There was a loud boom when the kick connected with the Emperor. Akatsuchi watched eagerly as his golem crumbled down from the collision with the Emperor. His hair stood up when he could not see nor sense the Emperor. His instincts kicked in, and he tried to look behind, a bit fearfully. Naruto flashed behind Akatsuchi in a blur. He was holding his wind sword with his left hand, a bit around his waist, its tip facing up a bit around the man's left shoulder. He was also swinging his lightning sword in a downward slash. The moment he touched the ground, his sword inches away from the kill, Bi flashed between them, holding 2 swords above his head, crossed for defense. The lightning sword clashed with Bi's swords and failed to break through because the man encased the blades with lightning. Predictable, Naruto said. Guh! Akatsuchi shouted in pain when something pierced through his left shoulder, around the joint. He felt that it had just cut through the bones, leaving only flesh attaching his arm to his body. Bi narrowed his eyes behind and saw Naruto's pointed sword. Wind, he realized. The Emperor had been calculating, and concluded someone would try to block him. Either way, he would still get what he wanted. When he noticed a lightly upward movement in the sword, he reacted swiftly by hitting Akatsuchi with his right shoulder, in an attempt to push him away. But it did not help. Naruto just expanded his sword, and it lengthened. It separated the arm from the shoulder, causing Akatsuchi to fall forward while clutching his left shoulder to try to stop the gushing blood. Naruto leapt backwards, creating some distance between him and the two. The Raikage flashed behind him the moment he landed on the ground, but Naruto was just about expecting it. Even though he was still not facing the Raikage, he swung his wind sword in a backward motion, causing Ai to duck under the strike. The Raikage's eyes widened slightly when he saw Naruto's lightning sword moving towards his face. He jumped from the ground, while twisting clockwise. The swords just zipped below his head, touching his lightning cloak slightly while his body was positioned horizontally. Naruto twisted around, channeling more chakra into his right leg. He swung it towards the man's head. There was a brutal sound that echoed when Naruto's kick collided with the Raikage's head. I felt like his neck had snapped and a steel hammer had hit him on the head. He felt pain shoot through his spine and nearly bit his tongue. He was sent flying towards a large boulder and could not stop his body from crashing into it. Boom! Naruto landed on the ground gracefully before suddenly blurring away. Anoki's was standing on a tall pillar of stone, observing the battle. He had neither the speed nor the physical prowess to engage someone like the Emperor. He would most definitely die soon if he tried fighting as the others. Still, it didn't look like the blonde was struggling despite the best efforts of everyone. I was certainly trying, but Naruto was moving quickly and his reactions were swift. He frowned at the thought that Akatsuchi was already handicapped, and the Raikage had just taken a huge hit. But knowing him, he was going to stand up to fight as if nothing was wrong. The Sandime at Satsukage's hair stood up when he heard footsteps behind him. He didn't need to look to tell it was the Emperor. "Relax, I am not going to attack you," Naruto said in a measured tone. He still held both swords. He stopped by Anoki's right side and glanced down. "This is a rather good view." For him to speak so casually at this stage, it infuriated Anoki. He wanted to release his jutsu at that moment and turn the blonde into dust, but he knew he would not hit. He needed an opening, and he was going to get one. "You're awfully easygoing for someone who is in a battle of death. Should I be all serious? If I am like that, I'd just kill everyone without blinking. I don't want that, it would be boring," Naruto said with a slight shake of his head. "Have you found Kuratsuchi?" If it was not the seriousness of the Emperor's tone, Anoki would have lashed out or just cursed the blonde. The tone told him the man really wanted to know. But why? He would have most likely killed her anyway. "Why are you curious? You have not found her. This is really troublesome," Naruto said in thought. "You obliviously think I am the danger in this world, but I am not. There are those with intentions to making our world come to end. I do believe that they may be those who took your granddaughter. Well, she will return, most definitely a new person." "Why do I have to believe any word you say?" Anoki said with narrowed eyes. "You don't have to believe me, and I don't intend for you to believe me. I just wanted to know if your granddaughter had returned already. My people are looking for her, but we cannot find anything useful. No doubt to finish what you started. If we find her in a place she should not be, we will kill her, but if she returns to the stone, we will not do anything, lest we invite the anger of the other nations," Naruto said. "If you really didn't take her, then who did?" "I have one person, but you know there are shadows hidden in this world. A little far more than you can imagine. You people refuse to look at real dangers and turn to weak villages to flex your muscles. If not for me, all Jinchuriki would have become targets of a sinister plot to end this world. But of course you don't know this. You probably won't even believe it. We try to understand the shape of the world and find the forces that lurk in the shadows because we know that it is such forces that are the true enemy." The battle wasn't going smoothly. No, they were a little behind. The Emperor was still a step ahead of them. Anoki wondered how things could have been if he had tried to initiate a talk with Uzumaki. Maybe things would not have come to this point. "We may have been hasty in our decisions. But that is the natural instinct of a shinobi. Regardless, we have paid the price. I lost many men." Anoki closed his eyes. "If I lose this battle. If we lose, what will really happen to my village?" "Nothing. You can tell me. You are already confident that you can win this battle. There is no harm in telling me the truth. Is it really that hard for you to believe that I have no intentions toward the stone? What do you make of me?" Anoki glanced at the Emperor before looking down. "When you keep telling yourself that someone is the enemy, it is difficult to change that mindset." Naruto shook his head. "A pity, you only come to say that when you are facing death. Is the threat of death really what makes a shinobi listen to reason? Maybe. It is unfortunately that maybe that will make you die with many regrets. If I was not intent on killing you, I would let you live just so you could try to correct your wrongs and see how foolish you were. But I'm not that merciful to afford you that chance. My people were not given the peace they deserved when you destroyed them." Anoki laughed, a bitter smile. "I should have known that this was about what happened years ago. You say you don't hold grudges, but you certainly have not forgotten." "Not at all. You are not being killed because of what happened then only. I just need you to die to usher a new world. And of course, you need to be a stepping stone for my fame." He paused, looking down. "This is getting a little interesting and I wish we could continue it, but it seems they have collected themselves," he said before jumping down. He turned toward his brother, who was walking toward him. He hadn't expected him to stay down, but that surely hurt. On the other side, the other Yuan Nin had been crippled. Evidently, if even the smallest opportunity showed itself, the Emperor was not going to waste it on needless movements. He was going to do real damage. "You okay, brother?" "Of course I am," I said as he stopped by B. "But Iwa's efforts are disappointing." Akatsuchi heard it, and turned to face the Raikage. "We are not facing a normal person. He has been able to handle himself so far. He isn't even using his great ninjutsu arsenal in this battle. It's pointless, fool, B said. I nodded. He isn't stupid. He isn't going to waste chakra throwing ninjutsu around when he knows that we are going to dodge it. Ninjutsu is only good when it hits its targets, but when you miss, it is just a waste of stamina and chakra. This battle has just started. Neither Jinchuriki has transformed. You think he'd waste chakra before then? We should not waste time, then, Rashi added while looking toward the Emperor. He was still able to fight me in my transformed state without even using the Kyuubi's chakra. I thought he fled from the battle. It was because he had achieved his agenda. You may want to give it your all, Raikage. I have fought that man before, and by how things have gone already, you should know already. He has already landed a blow on one of us, and your blow to the head you received must have damaged you. You received a blow yourself. Rashi waved it off. I heal quickly because I am a Jinchuriki. Well, as long as it is not fatal, he responded in a measured tone. Here he comes again. Akatsuchi, you can't weave hand signs anymore, you should step back. Akatsuchi smiled bitterly. I think I know why he made sure to disable me like this, he said before creating some distance. B grinned. And withdrew all his swords. Naruto landed gracefully and faced his opponents. He was not worried about Anoki, for now at least. The old man would try to attack him once he receives an opening. Admittedly, he did have fearsome jutsu that he could not block. Anoki's particle style was dangerous. If only he had the ability to use it. Maybe if he possessed the Rinnegan, then it would have been better. The Dijutsu was able to master the elements that he could not quite grasp. He channeled chakra through both swords when he sensed movements from B. He was carrying his swords in a truly strange manner. Within a couple of seconds, a flipping B was upon him, slightly above the ground. The sword he held by his mouth was swung towards his head. Naruto aligned his wind sword horizontally across his chest and held his lightning sword above his head to block the swing from B. There was a sound of swords clashing. B swung his left leg toward the Emperor, forcing him to pull back. B was upon him once more, but this time, when he arrived, he threw all his swords to the air. Naruto didn't wait for the man to pick them up. He released powerful gusts of wind from his mouth with enough force to slam the swords away from B and then forced the man to slide backwards slightly. The Emperor smiled. I clashed swords with you once, I'm not doing it again unless there is no other choice. You are fast. You no doubt do me harm, and not to mention your brother could attack me while I am preoccupied with you. That's surprising. Maybe if it were just the two of us, Naruto said calmly. Wow. He trailed off when he saw a hand cloaked in lightning flashing through the air from behind. The palm was open, and looked to be cutting towards the side of his chest. Lightning currents burst when the hand collided with his lightning sword. B drove forward while Naruto was still in the struggle with his brother. He grabbed two swords and lunged towards the Emperor, but before he could reach him, the man slammed his right foot on the ground and a wall burst in front of him, blocking his path. B punched through the mud wall with just one punch. When he came into the view of the Emperor and his brother, the latter was above the ground, flipped backwards with his brother twisting around with the fist created. Naruto's body was positioned upside down when he was forced to block AI's punch by folding both swords just in front of him. The man's brutal punch sent him rocketing backwards. He slammed onto the large pillar of rock Anoki had been standing on with his back, while still upside down. He winced slightly while covered in dust created. The dust cleared as B flashed in front of him, surrounded by crimson chakra. Still plastered on the rock, Naruto watched B get closer. He held both his swords just above his chest once more. B's Bijou chakra-enhanced punch collided with the blades of the swords. Boom! The rock shattered from the shock when the punch collided with the defense. But Naruto's swords did not break or crack. B wondered why Naruto was not being sent flying. He received his answer when something grabbed his outstretched hand. A chakra chain snaked through his arm. He tried to pull away, but the force of his punch forced him to be pulled away with the Emperor. By the time they crashed on the ground, the chain had already spread across his body. Naruto stood up and forced B to sew the same. Fuinjutsu? B asked, not even panicking despite the fact that the Hachibi's chakra was being suppressed. And he could not call out more. He could not even force his limbs to move. The chains of the Uzumaki were as strong as rumored. Yes, Naruto said, and put away both his swords. He formed a small orb of flames in the palm of his right hand. I'll tell you a secret. Those chains are weak. I am only able to do this because you are human. The moment you transform, I won't be able to stop you. You planning to hit me with that? Naruto shook his head. B looked curiously. but he received his answer when his brother suddenly flashed behind the Emperor. And Naruto jumped up into the air, flipping several times before landing behind him. But he had left the ball of flames behind, in the face of the Raikage. Boom! The ball burst into a huge column of flames that had been sweating because he was close to it. I suddenly flashed behind Naruto silently. He drove an extremely fast punch towards the back of the Emperor. Naruto could do nothing to avoid the punch. It slammed into his back with brutal force that sent him crashing into B, and they flew together. Naruto grabbed B and used him as a human shield when I flashed above him, with a backhand chop. But the man did not hit, he disappeared in a blur, and appeared below him before hitting him on his back once more. This time, Naruto felt it. He grit his teeth as he was sent up into the air. But I did not follow up to do more damage. When gravity started pulling them down, Naruto positioned B below him. Boom! They crashed onto the ground with B heading first with his head. There was a small crater that was formed. Naruto stayed above B for a second before standing up while forcing B to stand as well. "I see your brother is showing his true speed," the Emperor said. "It is worrying. I'm afraid I cannot fight while holding onto you like this. While it limits your brother and everyone else, I am also at a disadvantage." B never got to finish as the chain started stretching around both his hands and chest. His right hand was being forced to bend backwards. B felt a chill down his spine while holding in a scream as pain began to shoot through his body. His right hand snapped around the elbow. There was a cringe-worthy snap that was heard through the battlefield. Both Rashi and I flashed around him, flanking both his sides. The latter was quicker. He waved a right backhand chop straight to the side of the Emperor's head. The former jumped up slightly, covered in lava, and waved his right leg towards Naruto. The Emperor could only raise his right arm, coated with wind chakra, to block the incoming kick from Rashi. The Raikage's attack slammed on his head, just above his ear. Boom! The ground below shattered. The attacks hit him. Naruto cursed slightly when he felt his right arm being burnt by the lava. I twisted around while jumping slightly. His stretched right leg connected with Naruto's left shoulder. The moment it did so, the chakra chains dispersed and Naruto was sent flying to the side. Rashi dropped to all fours and started transforming into a miniature four-tailed beast. I turned his attention to his brother, who was on both knees, blood slowly dripping from his mouth and clutching his broken hand. "Can you continue?" When was the last time something like this has happened to him? B had always been stronger. He'd always been a step above his opponents. No one had ever made him experience such pain. He stood up. "It's time to reveal my mini-form, yeah? And let that fool feel the sting of the Hachibi, yeah? Just get to it," I said sternly. "We need to end it. Those chains are not going to be a problem. Are they?" He said no. "Can't take his word. I will watch out." Meanwhile, Naruto touched the ground while still being carried by the momentum. As he slid through the ground, dust picked up. In front of him, there was another cloud of dust rushing towards him, led by a four-tailed crimson beast. "QB. What? When I call you, be ready to infuse your chakra with mine to enter that mode. Things are going to get a little serious and I need more speed. If I just take your chakra, it's not going to be enough. I thought you didn't need my power." Naruto finally came to a halt. But Rashi was upon him. The miniature beast released a low growl before throwing a right hook towards his face. The Emperor blocked the attack with his left hand then threw his punch. The punch resounded in a powerful shockwave when it hit the creature's face. It stumbled back slightly but did not fall over. "I pulled and hurled you into the air. Do you think I would be able to block your punches?" Rashi lunged at him without responding. Naruto sensed B's movements. The Jinchuriki had transformed as well. It was going to seriously get dangerous. As long as the QB was on standby, there was nothing to worry about. He didn't think he could be defeated by these opponents, but anything could still happen. That was why Naori was watching from a good distance, ready to pounce if there was a need. Rashi twisted clockwise when he was just above him. He swung his massive tails towards his face. Naruto saw it coming and ducked while stretching out both his hands. He caught one of the tails. While his grip was firm, he did feel like he was holding onto an unbreakable material. The Emperor took a step forward, pulling the Jinchuriki with him before straightening up. He spun around, pulling Rashi with him as they did a quick spin. When satisfied, he hurled the Jinchuriki into the air. Rashi slammed head onto the onrushing B. They collided and fell on the ground in a heap. "Lariat!" Naruto didn't even have time to stop moving after hurling Rashi towards B because I had suddenly appeared in front of him, hooked him around his throat with his killer move and sent him flying towards a large boulder. I landed down and stared as Naruto crashed into the boulder with his back, completely crushing it. Did you get him? I frowned. It had been something that occurred in a split second, but the Emperor's reactions were frighteningly ridiculous. He is not dead if that is what you are asking. You should be ready to attack or just fully transform, he will get up soon. Even after Lariat? It did not fully connect, I said, and waited for the coming Anoki to join them. Finally decided to join in. I have a plan, Anoki said. We are only going to use more chakra and stamina if we continue with this. Naruto coughed up a mouthful of blood, lying on his back surrounded by small rocks and dust. The pain was coursing through his body. He could not ignore it. He had his left hand grabbing his throat. There was a deep gash on his arm as if a sword had just sliced through it. Blood was dripping out. Had he not put his hand over his chest to absorb the first contact, his chest would have been ripped open. He closed his eyes for a moment and allowed the Kyuubi's chakra to run through his body to heal the damages. After a moment, he slowly got up and started to dust himself. He created a Kage Bunshin and it just disappeared without orders. This is interesting, Kyuubi said. I will not disagree with that. The battles I have fought so far have been a little boring. But when fighting two Jinchuriki and a man who claims to be the fastest shinobi, it is bound to be interesting. You say it like you are not a Jinchuriki. Well, I hardly fight as a Jinchuriki. But once they fully transform, I won't have a choice. I am not blessed with the visual prowess of the Sharingan or the Rinnegan to be able to stand against such a battle. Kurama snorted, but he did not say anything. It was not true. Of everyone, he knew what the blonde could do best. Naruto removed his armor, seeing it useless at the moment, as he was going to soon enter a state of power that would grant him his necessary defense to be able to handle these shinobi. He would have to take out his wind sword once in that mode. Don't get too comfortable, I shouted, flashing down the Emperor with a drop kick. Naruto looked up for a second before leaping into the air a bit. I crashed into the ground, creating a crater after his kick slammed onto the ground. Naruto touched down the ground before blasting off towards the Raikage. He landed just a foot away from the man and lifted his right foot, waving it towards the man's left shoulder. I blocked the kick by raising up his left hand. He slid to the side slightly before swinging his right foot towards Naruto's waist. The Emperor channeled chakra through the palm of his left hand and then caught the leg just above the ankle. The moment he did so, lightning burst, shocking the Emperor before he could manipulate it. The Raikage disappeared in a blur. Rashi replaced him, already in motion in his beast form. A left hook hit the Emperor just below his chin. The punch sent him flying upwards. While still airborne, a six-tailed bee jumped from behind Rashi, with his mouth closed, holding onto something. He then released a powerful blast of pale white energy that traveled nearly instantaneously. The jutsu seemingly connected with the Emperor head-on, and then exploded in the sky. There was a sizable cloud within the air. A couple of seconds later, the immense power of the Kyuubi tore through the battleground before a four-tailed beast started falling slowly from the cloud. The chakra started to disperse slowly, revealing Naruto's form. By the time he hit the ground on one knee, he was no longer surrounded by the Kyuubi's chakra. The ground below burst and a crimson chakra tail appeared. Naruto was forced to jump into the air to avoid being pierced by the tail. The second he landed, his senses picked in, but he could do nothing as both B and I appeared in front of him. Both slammed punches onto his chest with so much force that there was the sound of something snapping along with a powerful shockwave that caused the ground to shatter. The Emperor took off like a bullet. Anoki was already waiting for the blonde. Jin-tun, Genkai Hakuri no Jutsu! He formed a cube, with a sphere of energy at the center. The jutsu extended towards the Emperor. Naruto was trapped within the cube before the sphere exploded in tremendous amount of force, obliterating the Emperor. Before Anoki could even rejoice, a lightning sword pierced through his chest from behind. The sword had gone through his heart. The old man had wide eyes as he looked down. Blood started to drip slowly. This could not be his end. No, he could not die like this. There was still much more he wanted to do, but he could not even move a muscle. His energy was deserting him. Pain was shooting through him. He ignored it all, and tried to move. A tremendous force of electricity escaped from the sword, and shocked the Sandaime at Tsuchikage. Naruto was behind him, the sword being held by his left hand. His entire upper body was fully exposed. His right shoulder and the side of his chest were bleeding heavily, the flesh exposed with his shoulder joints clearly visible. When he sensed movement, he pulled his sword and disappeared. Akatsuchi caught the falling Tsuchikage in just his remaining hand. There was no sign of life. Anoki was dead. He had failed. He had failed to protect the Tsuchikage. It had been his duty to protect the old man, and he had failed. His eyes sharpened dangerously. He could not wallow in pity now. He needed to stay strong. The Emperor was badly wounded. Rashi, I and B surrounded him. How did he escape that jutsu? Akatsuchi smiled bitterly. He had been waiting for him to release his jutsu. You know the Emperor can completely hide his presence. The moment that Tsuchikage entered the battle and released that jutsu, the Emperor's clone was behind him. He must have performed a replacement jutsu to replace himself with the clone. I only felt disappointment that the job had not been done. The Emperor had still taken a massive damage nevertheless. B. Let us move before he regenerates. Naruto was one knee, breathing slightly heavily. Blood was dripping on the ground, his sword stabbed inches deep in the ground. Once he calmed his breathing, he picked up his sword and sheathed it. I underestimated the jutsu a little, he said, looking at his chest. There were some marks that were gone. He frowned slightly, hoping nothing set off the measures he put in place kick in. When he stood up, his body started to rapidly regenerate. Within seconds, he was whole once more. His eyes were on his chest. The seals also started regenerating and filled up his chest once more. He let loose of a sigh of relief. He clapped his hands together while breathless. His wild hair stood up. Winds began to gather around him. The wind was clearly visible around his body. His eyes gained a sharper look. He stretched his muscles for a moment before smiling. Perfect. You could have done that earlier. Not when confined in that structure. Naruto responded in a stern tone. We should do some damage now. I have been damaged. After a moment, he darted towards his opponents. The Kumo duo were the ones attacking while what remained of the stones stayed behind him. The Raikage was in front with B trailing just behind. When a bit closer, I lunged towards him, diving in with his right hand stretched out. Naruto waved his right hand to the left. Gusts picked up quickly and a powerful force of wind slammed into the Raikage, sending him flying to the sides. Great wind breakthrough! Without even doing any seals, Naruto released even powerful gusts of wind. The wind picked up debris, as they tore through the ground, heading towards B. The Jinchuriki brought 3 tails in front, and they pierced through the ground while 3 more covered his face. While everything around him was peeled off, the Jinchuriki remained rooted to the ground. When he removed the tails on his face, Naruto's right foot crashed onto it with blinding force that had him lose control of the Gyuki's chakra. There was much more force than previous attacks. The tremendous force behind the kick left him breathless, the ground shattering, and sent him flying backwards. Before Naruto could even straighten up, I was already on the move. Naruto bent his left knee slightly and jumped up. He flipped upside down. The moment he did so, I zipped below him. The man twisted around while Naruto tried to land. Before the blonde could land, the Raikage had already twisted around and thrown a right punch towards his gut. Naruto blocked the punch by meeting it with his shin. Wind bullet. I narrowed his eyes when he saw Naruto's hand. The blonde flicked his index finger, and a bullet of wind pummeled him on the chest. I cursed silently when he felt his oxygen leave him for a second as he was sent flying backwards. Naruto touched down the ground gracefully but was forced to fold both hands together when Rashi flashed just above him, driving a right punch towards his face. He slid backwards slightly after the kick connected with his hands. He then pushed Rashi back a bit before twisting around, 3 fingers glowing with chakra. He took a single step forward and slammed the fingers on Rashi's forehead and twisted his fingers, drawing something on him. The man released a loud pained growl before dropping to the ground. When he did, the chakra started dispersing around him, and he then fell flat on his face. Naruto jumped up slightly and brought his knees around his chest when I flashed above Rashi with his right hand stretched out. The Raikage's punch went through his legs before he locked. I could only widen his eyes, unable to remove himself from Naruto's lock and with Naruto's right hand swinging. When he was able to free himself, his right arm remained with Naruto. He landed gracefully, missing his arm. He cursed silently, seething, but did not care for the pain. He was indifferent to it as he straightened up and stopped the bleeding. Naruto threw away the Raikage's arm and turned to the transforming bee. The Jinchuriki didn't waste time charging a massive Baijudama. The Raikage seemed to move to the side, but close enough to step into the field in case he decided to run away. It isn't as big as the Kyuubi's, even with just half of its power, but still big enough, Naruto commented while holding his hands together. Kyuubi. The Bijou obliged, and he became cloaked in dark orange chakra. We are going to deflect that, but to just let it explode without a target would be a waste of power, Naruto said calmly. He then created a clone. I breathed a little when he saw me releasing the Bijudama. The jutsu flashed through the air, blasting wind and land to the sides, heading towards the Emperor. He afforded himself a smile when the jutsu collided with him. That relief turned into dread a second later. His eyes widened when the jutsu suddenly changed directions, heading towards him. When he tried to flee, another orange blur flashed behind him, holding him in place. He panicked and tried to move, but the clone would not let him. There was not even enough time to struggle as the jutsu arrived. Boom! The Raikage became engulfed in a large explosion that picked up into the air, creating a mushroom of debris. Naruto snapped his fingers and the chakra surrounding him dispersed, along with Sage Mode. Naori flashed beside him. Yes. Naruto answered the unasked question. Both Kage are dead. We no longer have to fight. Restrain the Gyuki. And then we will depart. Sasuke is within the country. I would rather not have him come here while we are still around. Yes, Your Majesty. Victory at last. The war was over. He had won. Anoki had nearly turned him into dust. The Raikage had nearly ripped his chest open. But thanks to the Kyuubi, he had survived. There were surely many battles to come in the near future, but this was the first. He had proved his power, and there would be no one to simply challenge him without thinking twice. The Emperor looked up into the sky and adopted a content mask for a couple of seconds, before ducking under a punch from Akatsuchi. He twisted around swiftly before leaping backwards. Akatsuchi had a hateful look. He was still missing one arm. He simply could not forgive the Emperor for what has transpired since the war began. Many of Stone had lost their families because this man butchered them. And now, their Tsuchikage was dead, because of him and this stupid war. You think you are going to get away with this? Iwagakure will never forget about this. You have killed far too many of us for it to be forgiven. The Emperor tilted his head to the side, with a curious look on his face. What was wrong with Shinobi? He had been willing to let this man live, but it would be a stupid decision. With how hateful he looked, he was obviously going to plot something in the future. He wasn't going to do a Nagato and Amegakure, but he could at least end this miserable man before him. Pathetic, you are an experienced shinobi yet speak like a child. Hatred does make men think foolishly. This is a war you started. Had you killed me and my men, you would have been celebrating. But because you lost a battle you started, I have done you wrong and you want revenge. Ridiculous. Shinobi never ceased to amaze me. Perhaps Madara was going somewhere with his plans. I did not kill you because I had no business with you. I killed the people I wanted to kill, but you want me to kill you and I will oblige. You have become useless as a shinobi anyway. The only thing you can now spread is hatred. Minutes later. Sasuke arrived at the battle scene and looked around. There were signs of battle, but there was no one around. He frowned. He had missed it. He had sensed a power that belonged to Naruto some minutes ago, but it was now gone. He couldn't even tell who'd won the battle. He needed to know. He'd even thought he would be able to catch the Emperor while he was unguarded and strike him from behind. The world would be a better place with those Kages dead and the Emperor dead. Cloud and Stone would have no more reasons to be after Uzushio. The village had no more monsters. Perhaps that was what they wanted people to believe. Either way, Sasuke didn't care much about it. The Uchiha's body froze when he felt a breeze wash over him from behind. There was someone. He hadn't sensed anything. He hadn't felt anything. He still could not sense anything. He could only tell because of the breeze. There was one person who had the ability to completely hide his chakra signature and presence. You're not going to strike me from behind, are you? Sasuke asked after activating his Sharingan. I have not the slightest of intentions to strike down a blind man, the Emperor said in a measured tone. He was standing behind the Uchiha, hands folded on his back, eyes narrowly opened. Sasuke turned around to face Naruto. There was no attack coming, it made him curious. The Emperor was not ignorant of his ill intentions toward him. The last time he had attacked. But this time, the Emperor was just standing there. Sasuke was no less hostile. So why? Did Naruto think he could not kill him? Did he think that he was just insignificant and not a threat? The thought made him stare with contempt. Naruto had always looked down on him. It infuriated him. Had it been some years ago, he would have snapped, but Sasuke reined in his anger and responded in a cold tone. I'm not blind yet. If you are still standing, then the Kage's lost. Obviously. Naruto responded in a measured tone. Did you come here because you wanted to shoot one of those arrows at my back, Sasuke? It seems that even in death, Itachi controls you. He led you into a path of hatred and now, part of your contempt for me. I'm doing what I want not because of what my brother said. It is true he warned me about you. But I see you as a threat to my dreams. Naruto raised an eyebrow, surprised, or at least feigned that much. Your dreams, that is interesting. But I truly do not care what you do. Of course, unless it is something against my empire and to me, personally. The Emperor responded in a firm tone. He then paused and looked up. You took long, Jiraiya. Is age starting to take effect? I'm not that old. Really? I'm interested in seeing how Tsunade looks like under her makeup. Her healing jutsu certainly ages her fast. Of course, he'd know that because it was the same thing for him whenever the Kyuubi did amazing things its chakra. Did you come to stop Sasuke? Jiraiya nodded. I was afraid he'd attack you. But seeing you stand here, it's safe to say the battle is over and you have won. It is not a bad outcome. Of course, depending on what you do next. If your purpose is to put both Cloud and Stone under your empire, we would have a problem. There would be another war in the near future, the Toad Sage said in a stern tone. I have no such interest, and if possible, I hope to never fight another war. But knowing our world, another war may happen. If I took purposeful steps that would evoke anger and more chaos, Nagato would turn on me. And the Uzumaki clan would show its displeasure. Both parties desire nothing but peace. It was a little hard to believe that Nagato would be set on peace given what he has done. But thinking about things, it could be true. If Naruto was indeed being truthful when saying he would not be doing anything against Cloud and Stone, then there was the possibility. The Uzumaki clan had never been known for wars and fighting. Even when allied with Konoha, they never took part in wars. They always stayed secluded on their little island. Perhaps this was what made their destruction even more sickening. Of course, Konoha had nothing to stop it either. I highly doubt you want peace. That idea is ludicrous to me. Your perfect world seems nothing more than a fantasy to me. Shinobi will fight. People will have conflicts. We can't always understand each other. At some level, we will always be selfish and there will be someone who will want destruction. What you should seek to change is the mentality of Shinobi. If you cannot change it, you make it difficult for wars to occur. You create a system and alienates any nation seeking war with the other. But that is impossible as long as Kages remain closed in the bubbles of their villages. I have no care, but what I have determined is that you cannot fight for stability if you only care for your village. And that makes you a bit of a hypocrite, Jiraiya. Maybe naive to some level in your fantasy. You cannot say you desire peace and yet still remain confined by the love to your village. You will do anything to protect Konoha. And that is contradictory to your ideals. To desire peace in the shinobi world is to love the shinobi world with more love than your village. If you cannot turn on your village for wrongs, you have no conviction to your ideal. I have fought and deceived many. My life has never been peaceful. But I have never loved the shinobi world. I have always loved my clan, my village, my people. Because of that love, I came to realize I cannot protect them without changing this world. And that is my desire. Whether I need to redraw maps and slaughter thousands to change it, then it shall be so. But I don't do this in Yuzu, because there is nothing broken in Yuzu. I am here because this is where things happen. All the more reasons you should not live. You will not waste time causing chaos in this world, Sasuke said coldly. You are missing the big picture, Sasuke. And I won't explain to you what it is. You will have to figure it out on your own, Jiraiya said with a slight shake of his head. I don't believe this rumor about there being more Rinnegan users. Nagato is the only Rinnegan wielder. But I must wonder why the expansion. A foothold in the elemental nations if you like, Naruto said with a wave of his right hand. Now that war is over, I look forward to hearing more from Konoha and how it intends to please us given its past failures. You're not going to let that go? Naruto smiled. It would just be a fun conversation to have, don't you think? Naruto asked before he burst into a cloud of smoke. Kagebunshin? Figures. Uzushiyogakure. Lights brightened the streets, music was being played. People had gathered just in front of the Emperor's compound. Some in small groups, drinking and laughing. Some danced, around small fires made around for warmth and light. No one was grumbling. Everyone was happy. Uzushio was celebrating an end to the war. The darkness that loomed over the heavens was being ignored in favor of celebrations. They had won. They had stopped the enemy from reaching their land. They were now safe. The tension they had hidden during this time has been released when the horn was blown and people broke out in cheers as the Emperor returned with victory over their enemies. Haku had never seen the village so peaceful, so overflowing with happiness. The Uzumaki were out in full force. Even those who seemed to hide from the sun were now out. He could see them around. They were the loudest and most energetic. It was a good thing to see. The war was finally over. It has been a threat to their very existence. But now they could sleep in peace. Naruto's strength had been proved. It had been put in a fire baptism and it came out on top. Now they could breathe freely. The clan elders were sitting in their little group, speaking in hushed tones. Since Yoshino refused to be their puppet, they were probably plotting to have Nagato dethrone Naruto as emperor. They would never be comfortable with the blonde, but at least they would now acknowledge his strength. The emperor was sitting beside a small fire, surrounded by women with Yoshino just across him along with Miyuki. There was no sign of either Naoki or Naori. But knowing them, they were probably grumbling that they couldn't join the others, while having their own celebration in a corner somewhere. "You seem to be enjoying yourself," Haku said to Naruto, but he did not sit down. "Have you come to ruin the mood?" Naruto asked. "I was just stating an observation. I have every reason to enjoy myself. After years of plotting, torture and hard working, we have finally achieved something, and most of all, Yuzu is now truly safe. I have to be happy in such a situation. It is only a pity that Karin isn't here," the emperor responded. "Weren't you just saying it is best she isn't here a moment ago?" Yoshino asked in an amused tone. "Yoshino, you traitorous bastard! You want Haku to look at me with narrowed eyes? I already know everything. It isn't like you have not made your appetite open," Haku said with a shrug. "I do recommend that you call it a night, though. You had a battle today, you should rest, as we do not know what happens tomorrow. And I would rather you not do anything unbecoming because you drank a little too much." "Well, the emperor is always the last person to arrive and the first to leave. No one will depart until you do," Yoshino said. "I hope you are not saying that because you want me to leave just so you can gather the people and spread false stories about me." "Of course not," Yoshino said with a smile. "That smile of ours does make me uncomfortable. I should put a gag order on you for the rest of the night. That would be unpleasant, but completely necessary." Haku cut in. "You are still sitting, Your Majesty. The battle was not clean today. You need rest." Naruto looked up into the sky for a long minute. Well, he did have a couple of things to think about, and he did need his rest. He would be doing some more talking these days with the war over. He needed to be prepared mentally for it. The emperor stood slowly. "Please put some restraints on him, Miyuki. Yoshino can be a little mad when drunk." She smiled. "Isn't he always a little mad even when not drunk?" Naruto laughed. "I guess that is true if you get the idea of some of his thoughts. I thought I was the only one who thought he was a little twisted." "You should not point fingers, Your Majesty. You are not different from me." Naruto shook his head. "While I don't like to admit it, you are better than me, intellectually at least." He then turned to Haku. "Lead the way." It was a bit disappointing that after such a feast, he was leaving alone. Well, he was a married man. He had a wife. No wives. He could simply visit them. He should have just brought Koiki with him. "You don't have to look so displeased. Tomorrow is still another day for celebrations. We will be holding a massive feast. Fresh meat will be brought in and you will also address the people. Maybe Karin will be back and you can drink to your heart's content. But while she is not here, I must look after your health." The following day, Naruto was sitting at the rooftop of his compound along with Yoshino, Haku and Naori, observing the festivities occurring just outside of the compound. There were more people than during the last night, even the kids had been welcomed. It was to mark to the day Uzumaki officially became free from fear. "You have finally done it, Your Majesty. Many doubted your word, but here we are. The village rejoices. Those sly old geezers are even walking amongst people now. Their fear has been erased because they now fully believe that what happened before will not happen again," Yoshino said with a smile. The state of the village had been ridiculously pathetic when he first landed here. He had thought Konoha haunted his very being, but these people had been haunted by fear in levels Naruto could not have imagined. "I must thank your hard work in making them believers," the emperor responded. "But the hard work begins now. We will need to do more plotting and manipulation now. The Kages must move when we suggest. Nothing should happen without us knowing. We must control this world from the shadows." "Are we finally going to make use of that prison?" Naori asked. "Yes, we will show it to the Kages one day. They will be free to send their most wanted criminals." Naruto eyed Haku for a moment before speaking. "You have something to say, spell it out." "I'm just afraid of this manipulation game you are planning to play. Will it not come back to haunt the Empire? Do you want the Uzumaki to be associated with dark arts?" Naruto smiled. "Of course not. I would never sully the clan like that. Why do you think when Guren was recruited I made her join the Uzumaki and underground operations and then moved her to Sound? You plan on housing Black Ops in the Sound. Haku said in realization. How big will the sound be once you are done with it? Big enough to be the capital of the elemental nations, Naruto said. I have told you already, we are going to build our second home there. It will take some time because we do not have the resources. We can solve things quickly in terms of resources, Yoshino interjected once more. We do need some billions nevertheless. The mines I have targeted can only take us to about 350 million Rio. The wave has also been generating something. We can take as much as about 250 million from it. With that, we can begin with trains. We can borrow some money to start developing the sound. We will leave such discussions after the celebrations and I have gotten my needed rest. But maps must be brought out because we need to start moving quietly and quickly. The work. He trailed off when Naoki flashed on his side. What is it? We have a situation in the waves. You must hurry there. Chapter 24, Lurking Flames. Flames gave rise to smoke, the air around the country was contaminated, making it difficult to breathe. The wave was in flames. Several buildings had exploded, and were burning to the ground. The people were trying to put out the fires, and failing. It was chaos, a tragedy that had befallen the peaceful land of innocent civilians whose only crime was being ruled by him. Causalities were there, but they had avoided the most of it. Some of the shinobi Naoki had brought from Ame were still in the ground, helping out the people into safety. Panic had surged through. They didn't know whether to be indoors or to go out. If this fear knocked at the doors of Uzashio, Naruto would lay siege to Iwagakure. He'd make them pay dearly. First of all, the war was already over. He had won and they had done this. He had not moved against their land, but they had made the move even after losing. It did not matter if Anoki was already dead. He knew about the attack and planned it but did not stop it even when knowing he could die in the war. There would be consequences to those who were left alive. Naruto would make them pay. The emperor executed hand seals and held out both his hands. Dark clouds began to gather above the country. Slowly, they filled the area and drops slowly started to fall, kissing the ground while putting out the fires. In a few seconds, it was a downpour. As the drops became heavy, people started running to shelter. Naruto did not mind being rained on. He was not in a pleasant mood anyway. Perhaps the rain could hide his disappointment from the people of this country. He jumped from the rooftop and landed on the ground. A second later, the raindrops stopped hitting him. Naori was by him, holding an umbrella. When Naruto eyed him, he smiled. Yoshino figured you'd make it rain and still walk amongst the people to make yourself visible to them. It is a time when they are in trouble. If I am not with them, they think I do not care about them. This was not even their war to begin with. The reason this has even happened is because of a lapse of judgment on my part. We could not have foreseen such a thing, Your Majesty. You could not have, but it is my duty as Emperor to protect these people and foresee dangers to the lands I control. Naruto sighed. Well, this talk will not solve anything. We have much more important things to deal with. But we will discuss them at home. For now, let us bring calm to this nation. An hour later, throne room. You play your role as Emperor to perfection, Your Majesty. I really do not see why the elders keep on insisting that they make me Emperor, Yoshino said. He wasn't the only other person in the room. Naori and Haku were flanking the Emperor's sides. Politics, Naruto said. Things must be done in order and in a way to show that you care. If you don't give your people love, they will start thinking you are no good to them and then rebel. We must never give the wave a reason to turn on us. Do you not choose leaders of the country to avoid this? Haku asked. There is that, but that only gives us control. To win a nation, you must win the hearts of its citizens. They are the most important people. We have the leader, but if the people turn on him and then tell other nations that we are forcing our rule on them, we'd have serious problems with the Great Five. They may not be able to do anything to us, but our empire can't grow in a way we want if they are actively plotting against us. The Emperor said. What is the damage? Is it something that will cripple us? The hospital, the academy, the offices of the shipping company, and several homes were destroyed. It is nevertheless nothing that can cripple the economy. There were causalities, but nothing too much. The wave is capable of rebuilding from this without the assistance of any other country. But this puts us back a bit. We should have been focusing on connecting the rail tracks with other nations and putting the trains in them. And now we will have to shift our focus on rebuilding. The train stations were not destroyed, yes? No, we placed maximum security on them. If they had been destroyed, it would have been disastrous. The materials used to build them is rather expensive. The trains promised to generate enough income for us to be able to fund other projects. Then the wave was targeted because of its significance to us. It was not a simple attack on the innocent civilians. Yes, we believe so, Yoshino said with a nod. And Yuzu? Setting off explosions would be near impossible given the barriers we placed on the buildings. Fire spreads quickly and we took measures against that. There hasn't even been a breach of security. Good. Who shall take charge of the reconstruction? We need to ensure that the railways are still moving forward. We stopped because of the war. We are no longer at war now, we must continue. We need the revenue they will generate. Funds for the trains were already put aside. If we wait longer, we may be forced to use those funds for other things at this stage. I will ask Tazuna to take charge of the project to rebuild what has been destroyed. But most valuable infrastructure is still safe. The Waves train system can start within a month if we get all the trains. Should we send for the Springs to assist with this? Yes, that would be for the best. They have something. Send the airship to collect the materials. You can give the go-ahead to assemble the parts we already have in our stores. I want the trains running as soon as possible. Have Giran set apart the land for the projects, and clearly mark out the places where rail tracks will be put. If we do this, it should make things quicker. Nagato will handle things on his part, the Emperor said before turning deadly serious. The main issue is what to do with Iwa. We only found dead bodies of the men responsible suicide missions. They did not want to be caught to be interrogated, but we are certain they were from Iwa. I will visit the village to speak about the end of the war and a way forward. They should have someone acting as leader when we visit. I will ask them to pay for the damages and then to go grovel before the people of the wave. If they refuse, I will pay them back. Vengeance. Karin started as she walked into the room. You have never been the one to think about revenge, my husband. I am not thinking about revenge. I'm just saying this must be punished severely. Would it not make for a good image if you let it slip? You have already killed thousands of their shinobi, and if you make your case, it lessens the hatred and improves your image amongst neutrals and your allies. They think of you as the forgiving emperor. Naruto smiled. I didn't take you to be making cold strategies, Karin. But is it not reasonable? Is it not the logical option for a better future for the empire? She is right, Yoshino said. While it makes us look a bit weak and could encourage them to try again, but on the short term, it works best. We claim the higher moral ground. That sounds amusing coming from you, Yoshino, Naruto said with an amused look on his face. Fundamentally, he did not disagree with the statement from Karin. It did make sense after all. They could afford to blink and look the other way if it strategically worked better for the empire. The purpose was not to make the empire a terrifying beast that would frighten all. If they became that, they would not last long. Dynasties founded on suppression and tyranny never lasted long. People always rebelled. Even if they held long, it was always a bloody battle as people rebelled against those in leadership. Naruto could not have a situation where the Uzumaki were systematically hunted to break apart the empire. It would be failure on his part to protect them. Perhaps, but this is the route that we must take from now on. We don't want to be continuously fighting wars for no reason. Nagato will be displeased with us if things go like that. We must take measures to ensure that there is stability. It would also make things easier for us. Could it be that you're a little ticked off because this is solely your fault and you want to do something about it? Karin asked with a stare. Naruto raised an eyebrow. That would imply that I have become a rather loving emperor ruled by emotions, he said. He did not comment further on it. We will do what is best for the clan and the empire. But I would not have minded seeing them grovel before the people of the wave. That is fine nevertheless, the bigger picture is of importance than soothing my displeased spirits. So you admit you are ticked off? Karin pressed. There was silence in the room. Everyone seemed to wait with bated breath to see if he would concede. After what felt like eternity, he finally responded. Yes, I am. It is nothing shocking really. To fail is not a pleasant thing to experience, especially when you have arrogantly thought you could not fail. They do say experience is the best teacher. The realization that you cannot protect everything is rather unpleasant though, especially with my power. He stared at Karin. Are you happy now? Yes, she said with a wide smile. I will comfort my wounded husband now. We can go now. Yoshino cleared his throat before anything more could be said between the two. How do we deal with this then? The Emperor adopted a thoughtful look for a second before responding. Haku, you will send a message to our allies and request aid in rebuilding. On its own, Wave should and can rebuild. The economy is strong. But having others assist brings about unity in our nations. It is with this unity that we can move forward as one without the other pulling back. Yoshino smiled. That was well said, Your Majesty, he said. Uzushio will readily offer its help. That will be appreciated. and send the sealing corps to begin constructing a barrier around the wave. The bridge must be protected and adequate sensory seals should be placed around the country to alert us of any movements. Yoshino, take measures to begin the establishment of the Imperial Police Force. The prisons we have built cannot remain empty forever. The police force would operate similar to the manner of Konoha's military police force, but it would have authority to act in all lands below the Empire's flag. It was just one method to keep balance, and to give their shinobi missions to do. Yes, Your Majesty. You are all dismissed. Cancel the celebrations for now. We shall celebrate once the wave has been restored. Karin watched the subordinates disappear one by one. Haku was the last to leave the room, but not before greeting her with a smile. She then turned her eyes towards the man on the throne. She frowned at the thought that she was looking up at him. She was supposed to be sitting up there with him, not standing here like a commoner. When did I start thinking like that? Karin thought with a small smile. You returned sooner. Weren't you the one who kept reminding me that I had to return? I thought you would take your time and I would have to come once more to fetch you. You do seem to enjoy the attention I give when I'm trying to force you to do something. You are dreaming, but it is okay. Just don't take it too far, Karin said with a wave of her right hand. That is not a nice thing to say, Naruto said. Well, it is not like I can murder you for saying it. In any case, you are home. You have truly returned at a troublesome time. But I will make some use of you now that you have returned home to fulfill your duties. Karin frowned. I didn't come back home to be treated as a slave. And you did mention that you would take away some duties from me so that I can still do research. I did say that, but you must still complete some duties. We will get people to dress you accordingly, and tomorrow, you will visit the wave country and address the citizens. I was there, but I did not address them. You will tell them that help is coming and the Empire takes responsibility for what has happened. I don't like the sound of it. You are putting words in my mouth. You are free to add on to what I have said, but you are not to contradict anything, and if you make any promises that do not align with my objectives, you will carry them yourself. Is this the same attitude you give Yoshino? Those people know that if they are going to do something I didn't tell them to do, they must take responsibility for it. Yoshino acts differently because he understands how I think. Of course, that does trouble me at times, but it was necessary that he understand how I think if things were going to work accordingly when I was not around. Karin shook her head. Politics later, aren't you going to welcome your wife? Naruto stared at the woman for a moment before smiling. He then stood up from the throne and descended down the stairs. He embraced her in a firm hug. It is good that you have returned home, Karin. I won't be so lonely anymore. Lonely you? Is that some kind of a joke? Naruto smiled. I miss this colorful side of you. We will have many memories to share once things have settled. Well, we can even start now. There is nothing that stands in the way after all. Konoha. The mask was off. It was a unique situation. Yugao had always made appearances before the Hokage wearing a mask, but these days, she appeared in the office without her mask. She was no longer acting as an umbu. She had yet to retire, but she was still working. Perhaps this mission could be called an undercover mission. It was dangerous, perhaps worthy of being S rank. If Naruto found her doing something treasonous, he was going to kill her. He had made it that clear, and she was not really looking toward deciding anything that could get her in trouble with the Emperor, but orders were still orders. Yugao settled on a chair in front of the Hokage's desk along with Shikamaru. Thank you for coming, both of you. Tsunade started in a measured tone. She glanced at Kakashi, who was standing just on her right side. We received word that the wave country was attacked. There was some destruction. It seems that several buildings were marked with explosive tags. We don't know who is responsible, but apparently, Uzumaki has been keeping a close eye on things. The silver-haired Jonin said in a serious tone. We don't need to guess. It is either the stone or cloud, or both of them, Shikamaru said. That is our conclusion, but we will not draw any accusations without any evidence. They will probably deny it as it has happened after the war, and it was an attack on innocent civilians. We don't think that the Empire will simply let this slide. It was just going to be chaos if the Empire responded with force. This war had shown that the Empire had the mobility to cause destruction in both stone and cloud, but they had not gone that far. They only fought those in the battlefield. But if they were attacked like this, they could respond by sending out the airship for destruction. It could make things dangerous again, and they could go back to war again. Tsunade hoped things did not come to the point where the Emperor was calling for the destruction of either village, because although they were wrong, destruction was not the way to go. But she still did not know if she would go as far as to stand in the way of the Uzumaki Empire. Not unless there is something to gain, Yugao said. Shikamaru agreed with this. Their movements have always been calculated. They don't simply move because they can. The wave has been attacked, but there is still nothing from them, is there? If they were the ones to simply move because they can, they would have already moved to the stone. The Emperor knows space/time ninjutsu, he could simply teleport to Iwa. Knowing him, he is likely weighing the pros and cons of each move. Yugao added. Tsunade smiled. At least she had people who reasoned. Seeing them speak like this, it made her feel relieved. Well, Shikamaru had already proven his worth, but he was still young and there was the thought that Yugao could be compromised. Either way, she had made the right decision about permitting this to happen. Yugao, once I sign the paperwork, you officially will no longer be a kunoichi of the Hidden Leaf. You will be sent to the whirlpools, where you will become a kunoichi there. The Emperor is not stupid, he isn't likely to have you do anything and might send you away from Uzushio, but that is fine. We primarily just want someone from our side to be able to reach him any time. This will be a sign of goodwill. Shikamaru, you know your role. You are to ensure that the Empire and the Leaf have an alliance. Your father must have already briefed you on the negotiation terms. Don't go beyond them. If he is being unreasonable, don't indulge him. We will not beg for an alliance, and if they reject Yugao, don't try to force the issue. We are not that desperate, but we do acknowledge the Empire's power as a rival to the Great Five Nations. You leave in 6 days, prepare yourselves. Hi, Hokage-sama. Once they both left the office, Tsunade released a long breath and leaned back in her chair. She closed her eyes for a moment before speaking to Kakashi. I thought things would calm after the war, but there is this, and the Cloud's forces moving in the sea have yet to retreat. At this stage, they will likely attack. What bothers me is Uzushio's silence in it. I don't think they are ignorant of the threat, especially since they were having problems with the water daimyo. You think they will cause destruction and keep silent about it? Most likely, Tsunade said with a nod. I should not stress over it. This should be your problem. At least for now, we have avoided a great war. Looks likely, but knowing how things work in the shinobi world, one could just be around the corner. That is why you must never relax. We don't know where the next threat will come from, and if Uzushio handles the stone and cloud badly, we will indeed have another war once they recover. You need to play your role well. If we have to go to war, then we will go. You should never sacrifice the leaf for anything. Kakashi felt like going on a tour across the elemental nations just thinking about the trouble ahead. Don't you think it would make sense for you to pass on the mantle once things have settled? It would be fair to the next Hokage to have a clean slate rather than inherit problems. It would be fair if those were problems caused by me. I have not caused anything. You just have to deal with it. Besides, I am still going to be around. Of course, I must still give you room to make your mistakes and do things as you think best. We don't want to be in a position where I am fighting with you over the village's direction. Such a situation would create factions within the shinobi forces. An unpleasant situation would surely arise from that. Meanwhile, it is quite remarkable that the Naruto that used to walk in this village has managed to bring all Great Five Nations to acknowledge his power in this manner, Shikamaru said as he walked alongside Yugao. Who could have thought? Shikamaru's friends could still not believe it, but this was the reality of things. For you it is remarkable. We have always been able to see beyond the mask. Even when you could not see beyond the mask, there had always been something about him. If things had been different, I would not have been dragged from my peaceful days. Well, this is the result of this village choosing to hate him rather than accepting him, Shikamaru said in a tired tone. My father says you don't approve of the idea of keeping tabs on the Emperor by spying on him. Yes, Yugao said. What do you think about it? It is risky and dangerous, and I think hardly worth the effort. I wouldn't say hardly worth the effort, but risky? Yes. The consequences would be disastrous to the Leaf. My life is out of the picture, but the Emperor would see it as a sign of betrayal. I stood before him on his throne and I returned confident that the Emperor does not have any intentions to do this village any harm unless we incite it. They have their goal, but they are not a threat to Konoha. Naruto lived in this village, he probably knows it in and out. If he wanted to bring it down, he would have done so. He has stood before the village's strongest, he knows their skills and weaknesses. But he has not done anything with it or even threatened to use it against us. No matter what their goal is, it is simply not tyranny. Their movements and actions tell me that they are looking for something better without continuous battles, and they will probably make their movements in line with this. The Wave and Nadashiko have not been undone by force, it has been cooperation and keeping good relationships. It is likely that they want to keep things on that level in the near future. For this reason, I don't think they will attack either Kumo or Iwa. In saying this, you should not carry out that mission. Just be the best kunoichi you can be for the Empire. Your behavior there should mirror the Leaf's behavior towards the Empire. You seem to think highly of the Emperor. I was in class with him. I don't think he is necessarily evil. He is cold and ruthless, but not a bad person. His relationship with the Sandaime did tell me that he is one who honors his word, and most likely won't betray agreements even though he doesn't like them. He didn't like the one the Sandaime drew but was still willing to go through it even when the Sandaime was dead. Yes, that is someone you can trust. Of course, he will always think about what is best for his clan, as anyone would for their village. The problem is his power, which he displayed for all to see. Another reason they encouraged this war was to display the power for all to see. His name is now known all over the elemental nations. No shinobi thinking rationally will face him in battle. Shikamaru shook his head. We will see how he welcomes us when we get there. Uzushiyogakure. The office was silent. Haku had thought he would find the Emperor and his wife bickering, as they usually do. It was always amusing to hear their banter about this and that. At least Haku could say it with certainty that Karin was someone that Naruto genuinely cared for. What simplified things was that she was Uzumaki. The Emperor loved all his clansmen. He did not discriminate, whether they were twisted or not. As long as they were members of the Uzumaki clan, they were in his good books. Haku placed a load of papers on Naruto's desk. The Emperor already had 2 mountains he was going through. Even with all the work, Naruto did take the time to read the bottom line. He didn't just sign. It is good to see you at work, Naruto. Not that I find it enjoyable, but there is some peace about it. I cannot tire from it since I don't have to talk to anyone while doing it. Are you saying you get tired of talking to people, even me? Karin jumped in. She was sitting on the sofa, reading some reports. Naruto lifted his eyes from his desk and glanced at the Karin before looking back at his work. Maybe, he said quietly. What is that? Wave business regarding construction, budget proposals from Tazuna and proposal for a new structure. What is wrong with the current structure? The leader does not report to you but to Uzushio. We didn't change that? No, you were focused on fighting and always let Yoshino do everything. We will change that. But that means that we must hire more people to work for us. The compound is not big enough for that kind of work. We never did make it to be a working place but my personal space. You are going to build your castle in the Sound, you can base all your subordinates there. Moving between here and there should not be a problem for you. Your other wives will also find a bed in that castle rather than coming here. I really don't want anyone in this place. This is our home, not any other woman's home. Naruto dropped the pen and leaned in his chair before staring at Karin for a long minute. I guess that works. I can have my fun there without your elders sending me glances. Send a message to Gurin to prioritize the building of my castle. I want it complete within a month. Of course, I will send an army of clones to help build it quickly. We will also borrow Gurin's power for materials. But her ninjutsu is only usable while she is alive. The moment she dies, everything falls apart. We are Uzumaki, we can solve that problem, Naruto said with a shrug. That does remind me, Karin, I am sending you to your elders to make sure they teach you proper Fuinjutsu. Karin glared. You really hate me, don't you? Maybe a little, Naruto said with a smile. I don't expect you to come up with amazing ideas, but I at least expect you to be adequate. Not in the standards of the Uzumaki. You're disappointing. For an Uzumaki to have less than desirable skills in Fuinjutsu is laughable. He then sighed. We are not born all the same nevertheless. You will still have time to learn. I have already sorted out your schedule for the next 6 months. Your duties will be relaxed during that time. Of course, if you show good improvement, you won't have to spend that much time with those people. They will probably give you poison to feed me. I'd take it with both hands. I don't doubt you'd go that far. I have truly married the wrong one. Take lessons, Haku. Be careful with whom you choose to marry. But poison is unlikely to kill you since you are a Jinchuriki, Haku said. The Kyuubi's chakra has been working within my system. That means it must leave the seal. If you have Karin bind me with her chains, I cannot break free. Haku smiled. You'd never sleep if you knew there was a jutsu that could trap you in an inescapable trap. I find myself agreeing with that statement, Karin said with a nod. Naruto shrugged. I just find it to be a puzzle that needs to be solved, he said. What else? Kyumo Shinobi? Have they selected a new Raikage yet? Not that we know. You think if they select a new Raikage they will order a retreat? Yes, but that will depend on the position of the new leader. If he thinks he can do what I failed to do, then she will lead them into war. Of course, should that happen, then we will annihilate them. For now, don't do anything. Let us wait and see, but if they move towards us, sink them all. All of them. Let no one escape, Haku. If possible, leave a monument of ice in the sea. That is rather brutal of you, Karin commented in a flat tone. A necessary measure to those who think that if we let Iwa get away with nonsense, we will let anyone who dares threaten us get away with murder. Ah, you are still displeased about that, Haku said with a smile. You'll soon get over it. And I hope you don't do anything to sabotage the route we have chosen. What do you make of me? I have never been driven by my emotions. But this is different, Haku said. The loss of life was the result of your oversight. It happens, Naruto said nonchalantly. I think we shall. He trailed off when Yoshino entered the office with a stack of papers. He released a long sigh and folded his hands across his chest. Is there any more work that needs me? Yes, Yoshino answered with a nod. I can bring it now if you want. Haku? Guren probably has something. You can send Naori to fetch it. Naruto thought about it for a moment before nodding. Let us do that, and every one of you will leave me to work alone. And no one shall disturb me. Including me? Karin asked. Who knows? Naruto said. I am going to visit both Cloud and Stone in the next couple of days. It is then that we will return with a way forward after having spoken to the leaders they have chosen. I had decided against going soon because I wanted them to prepare. I thought you would send me over as you did last time around, Yoshino said. You enjoy messing with people's minds too much, Yoshino. I don't want to frighten these people by your tongue. Besides, you relieved yourself of those duties when you had Haku take your position as my right-hand man. You have no role to play in this situation. Focus on Uzushio. That is a little harsh. Go to Miyuki to nurse your wounded feelings, Naruto said with indifference. I'm afraid Miyuki is as unapologetic as your wife, your majesty, Yoshino said with a smile. I'm sitting right here, you creepy bastard. Now, Karin. Yoshino started in a quiet tone. I am not without emotions. It does wound me when you say such things like that. Karin snorted. Yeah, right. Naruto laughed. See, dear, you would make a good match with Yoshino. We can change things now, and you can marry him. And you'll marry Miyuki? Yoshino offered. Hell no. Naruto was quick to say. He then changed the subject. I need you to stay here and prepare for the meeting with our people. It is likely that we will have some nations coming before us to be nice. Haku, have you readied the invites to our leaders? Yes. Good, Naruto said. Once they arrive, and I have dealt with both Cloud and Stone, we will know where we go. The Uzumaki Empire can begin another chapter of its rise to power. And hope it will not be one of bloodshed. You have always said that you don't want the Uzumaki to be associated with bloodshed, Karin said. There will be no more slaughters. Our prisons are enough to hold thousands. If they cannot be held, we will dispose of them. We must usher a new way of doing things, Naruto said. And yet you just gave Haku the order to waste Kumo's shinobi without leaving anyone to survive. That is something else entirely, Naruto said. He then turned to Yoshino. Be careful with who you welcome in your land. Once I'm done with my part, I will hardly spend time moving around here. Then you will set forth in the Sound. Yes, but we will still conduct business with the Kages here. I'm certain that the smaller nations will be trying by all means to move closer to us. We are moving closer to the great nations and we have displayed our might against them. They will look to us as their saviors and seek comfort in us. Would they not directly come to you then? We will set up the structure. But as you can see, we don't have the structure. The empire itself is only me. Most things go through you. We must look for people to fill up the gaps. The emperor paused, looking thoughtful. I will do this before the day ends. The one thing about being emperor is that I don't need to take anything to anyone to approve it. Yoshino smiled. I can say the same but little difference in that I know what you like, so I can do whatever I want and only inform you afterwards. That must stop. Haku jumped in before Naruto could respond. People will have to stop coming through you but to me. We will set up that chain of command and communication once the castle is built. His eyes narrowed. I'm serious when I say you will not be speaking to His Majesty directly unless I approve it. This thing of strolling in his space will stop. That is rather assertive, Haku, Yoshino remarked. I must be with you people. You have grown used to His Majesty. It is why some things are not done in order. I can understand with either Naoki or Naori, but you are different. I must nevertheless put a leash on Naoki. He is too much of a loose cannon. Naruto whistled. Save the energy for the troublesome people we will deal with, Haku. he said. You can all leave me to work. So, we are indeed keeping up with what Haku said, Yoshino stated. Well, I didn't know he would come around. Someone will bring the paperwork to you, Haku. He turned to Naruto. I wish you a safe journey when you visit the Cloud and Stone, Your Majesty. 3 days later. Yujito had to mentally slap herself to avoid smiling when Naruto appeared before her once more in her room. She didn't mind him coming in her place. She didn't even leave the balcony where she sat, reading a book. He had sat here some days ago when coming to visit her. Admittedly, she had never hated his presence, and still did not. He was the only other person in this village with whom she could freely speak. He had made his intentions clear to her, she knew what he wanted from her. Hidden motives had been thrown away. Perhaps it had been a move from him to make her feel a little free. Escaping work? I'm not that childish. Admittedly, I find peace going through my work. You are strange. We can't all be the same. Some people must be weird. It is our differences that make life interesting. If we were all the same, there would be no puzzles. We would all be the same person in different shapes. For some people, that is not a bad thing. Mentally challenged people, the Emperor said. Pick up your things. We are leaving now. Yujito stared. What is that supposed to mean? The war is over. I won and my enemies lost. That was apparent when I heard celebrations. I can't say I had any reason to celebrate even though I knew I was going to be free. Perhaps it was because I knew Ai-sama had been killed. Then you know what my words mean. I am returning you to your home since you have refused to love Uzushio. You could have warned me, you know. While she had tried by all means to avoid becoming familiar with this village, she had ended up liking the peace. Of course, there was no place like home, and she had been honestly bored here, but she had still come to enjoy the atmosphere around here. She would admittedly come to miss it. She would, of course, never admit this to the Emperor. It would just give him the motivation to try harder to get her to return here. If I had warned you, it would have defeated the purpose, Naruto said with a shrug of his shoulder. Ready your things. We must still travel a bit. My jutsu will only take us into the lightning country. Yujito stared for a moment before closing her book. She stood up without saying a word to the Emperor and readied her things. Some minutes later, they were running through the lightning country. Yujito felt excited and happy to be going back to her beloved home. She had twice ran ahead of the Emperor in her excitement. He had been amused. He didn't pick up his pace to accommodate her. He didn't seem to be in a hurry to reach the cloud. Then again, he had nothing to lose in this situation. He had won the war. He was in a position to make demands. The thought made Yujito slow down, and her excitement died down in the blink of an eye. Say, what are you really going to say in Kumo? Darui has probably been made Raikage since he was the previous Raikage's right-hand man. Naruto stopped running and started walking. They were within the outskirts of Kumo, and he had already warned them of his visit. Still, he hadn't actually thought about what he was planning to say to the leaders. We will see what happens when I get there. You're not that whimsical. I'm not, but I have still not prepared a speech. Things will go in two directions. It is either we work out our issues or they say we go to war again. Of which, I would not mind going on a rampage. Darui would find it too much of a hassle to go to war. With what they saw, Yujito didn't even think that they would willingly choose war once more. The Emperor would destroy them unless they had something else in mind they could use. As long as Naruto was fair, there would be no challenges. Yujito was almost certain that the Emperor would not be making ridiculous demands to her village. Hopefully, war has not changed Darui. I will not rest on hopes, Naruto said. You are overly excited. What do you think will be waiting for you when you arrive home? I honestly don't know. Let me tell you then, they will blame you for losing the war. If you had not been captured, you would have fought alongside B and might have saved I. You will be branded as useless and having hidden in the comfort of the enemy if they see you walking with me in perfect condition. Yujito frowned deeply. You have two options. You can choose to enter on your own and have Darui admit that you were returned as a sign of good gesture. Or you can allow me to beat you up, break some bones and chain you before dragging you. They will only spit on you. They already hate me for killing their shinobi and loved ones. Hatred I know and I have experienced. That is generous of you, but no thanks. I will endure it. I did not choose to be captured, and if they choose to hate me for it, then so be it. You're hopeless. It's a little disturbing and I want to smack you in the face. Perhaps then you can speak sense. Samui, Darui and Mabui were waiting for them at the village entrance. Darui was wearing Kage robes. Yujito didn't pay attention to the other two but hurried up when she saw Samui. She embraced her fellow blonde with a warm smile. She shed a tear. She was truly glad to be home. To be with the people she loved. Even if the villagers might hate her, as long as these people she loved were still there, it would not matter to her. Your Majesty. Darui greeted the Emperor while holding out his right hand. Naruto shook the hand silently before folding his hands behind his back. You succeeded, I. Yes. Darui answered. Please follow me. We can simply head straight to my office or we can walk. I must warn you that some unfortunate things may reach your ears if we walk. That is fine. It is not like it is anything new to me. Besides, I should not feel offended. I did kill their loved ones, the Emperor said as he followed Darui. He eyed Yujito before shaking his head. Was I that bad of a host that you cry when you arrive home? You did staff me in with that hateful woman after I was captured, Yujito said. Naruto shook his head. There was nothing but glares as they made their way through the village. He could sense some shinobi following them from the shadows. Even B was with them but keeping a distance. They didn't want a situation where he was allowed to attack this village without restrictions. Naruto could understand, and so, he didn't comment on it. Upon reaching the office, Darui showed him a chair in front of the large desk before sitting behind it. Mabui stood closely beside him while Samui and Yujito waited outside. There was a tense silence before Mabui broke it. What are the Empire's demands? You won a war which we started. Darui shot her a look before speaking. I thought we had this discussion and agreed you would let me do the talking. You were taking too long. Why? The treatment at least. I had my reasons, Naruto said. Demands? We have nothing to demand of you. But there has been no correspondence between the two nations since the last battle. I want to confirm something before we continue. Are still at war or are you waving the white flag to accept and acknowledge your defeat? We were defeated. Naruto smiled. Then do we call an end to the war? Yes. If we are calling an end to it and something happens in which you are responsible, I will come back here, and I assure you, it will not be to talk. You have displayed your strength, Mabui responded. We need not be reminded of it. We will not take any decisions to betray our word. We have lost many shinobi. The previous Raikage had his beliefs and fought admirably for them. We respect him for it. We have a new Kage now, and he wants to set things differently. You must already know about the shinobi at sea. We have sent a word for them to return. If they still continue towards Uzushio, they have just gone rogue. Then we will deal with them accordingly, Naruto said. Only if it comes to it, of course. I honestly planned on making you submit under my rule. If you'd refused, I would have just killed you and asked the next person if they wanted to follow under my rule. That would have been extreme. When a shinobi sets his mind on something, he will do anything to achieve it. Your previous Raikage went to war with us because he believed in something. I won't go over whether it was right or wrong, but he believed in it and then went into war. He lost, but you get my point. We see no reason to pick up where things were. If possible, we would like to have a fruitful relationship with the Empire without the talk of war. Of course, we would need to admit to our past errors. Our first thought of action would be to offer Yujito to you. We will of course discuss this with her. Naruto smiled. You are not thinking with your muscles. You are only making that decision because you know that to us, the power of a Jinchuriki means nothing. We can subdue them without fighting. We did consider that, Darui admitted. Perhaps we will get along. I did not come to hold any formal meeting but just to see how things will go from now on. It appears that there will be no need to put on any armor once more. And I hope you will be faithful. We are not very forgiving to those who try to backstab us. I don't want to throw threats, but I want you to know what you are dealing with. I saw you in battle, fighting a war I thought shouldn't have been fought in the first place. I will not be doing anything that will risk this village's future. You have the power to destroy a village. We are not stupid as to provoke war with you unless given a good reason. Good reason? Naruto smiled. That is fine. Puppets with no will of their own to reject what they see as wrong are just dull. Challenge us if you think we are wrong. Do not be afraid of us. I will think about Yujito when I get home. For now, sort out your proposals as you know where we stand. Next time we sit, we shall come to an agreement. For some reason, Darui agreed with the Emperor. They talked for a couple of more minutes before the man decided to leave. He didn't need anyone to follow him as he would make a hasty departure from the country. Once he left the office, Darui released a long breath and leaned his elbows on his desk. That went better than expected, Mabui said. Darui nodded. We still cannot let our guard down. They might surprise us when we hold meetings. Yet, it is still plainly clear of who stands at the top. There will be things we would normally not agree with, but we will be forced to agree with because we know what he can do. We will most likely be forced to toe in line without having him place us under his rule. Darui thought about it before shrugging. It was better than more bloodshed. As long as Kumo was safe and the people had their freedom, he would not complain and he would not allow anyone to say otherwise. Meanwhile, seeing Naruto outside the office, Yujito smiled nervously, worried over how things had gone. Everything went well? She asked. She would not want to be in a position where she had to attack the Emperor. He had been kind to her. But if there was no other choice, she would have to swallow her emotions and get it done with. Yes, better than expected. Yet you don't look very happy, Samui commented in a flat tone. I'm hardly excited unless there is a strong opponent in front of me or a woman stripping down for me to partake myself in her. So it's true you are a pervert. Naruto shook his head. I'm not a pervert. Don't mix pleasure with perverseness, he said in a strong tone. We will speak soon, Yujito. I'm told you might make a home in our land, but of course that is if you accept it. You calculated that something like this would happen, she accused him. Naruto just smiled. Enjoyed being home. He disappeared along gusts of wind. The following day, the stone was different from the cloud. The moment Naruto had walked through the village gates, he had been welcomed with contempt. No one had even come to greet him, but shinobi followed him through the rooftops, their hands in motion, ready to launch attacks on him. The streets were crowded with people. It was not silent, but there were loud whispers. There was fear in the eyes of many, but it was overshadowed by pure hatred. It was the same feeling as in Konoha when the villagers believed he killed their loved ones, but in this situation, he had indeed done it. Naruto didn't regret it, he didn't feel a thing about it. This hatred, he reasoned, it was only logical given what he did, and so he just walked through the streets, heading towards the rebuilt Kage Tower. It would have been a good thing if these people had prepared the Uzumaki flag, held it up and played music for his royal procession. But instead, they were just looking down at the murderer of their loved ones. None of the adults would dare think of attacking him, not when he could snap their necks. A child suddenly stood in the way, holding a stone. The shinobi watching close by did nothing, they just watched as the child threw the stone towards his face. The Emperor caught the stone and crushed it before coming to a halt just in front of the child. Give back my father! His cold eyes froze the boy into his place. No one stepped by. Naruto reasoned this child was now a war orphan. If he still had a mother or father, they would come out to try to plead for him, but the rest of the villagers just watched. War orphans, it was a sad thing, but sadly, the result of war. You did not go into war and return without pain and suffering. This was the result, and yet, shinobi nations have always been quick to ignite the flames of war. He bent down slightly and spoke in an audible tone. I cannot bring your father back to life. For the dead remain dead. If you want to hate someone, hate the person who sent him to war. But you killed him! Someone shouted from the crowd. Yeah! Naruto straightened up and closed his eyes. He put his hands inside his pockets and then walked past the boy. An oppressive air began to fill the streets as Naruto slowly walked. He then spoke in a cold tone. In war, it is kill or be killed. If I had not killed, I would have been killed. Of course, you people would have rejoiced. This village took part in the destruction of my village years ago. We experienced the same feeling you are feeling now. Yes, the small nations you cheered while Iwa invaded suffered this feeling. They are looking at you in the same manner as you are now. They are probably shouting in joy, experience what you have made us experience. Know the pain of war, and next time, you will not be so quick to go to war. After saying that, he disappeared from the crowd and headed straight to the Tsukage Tower. Kuratsuchi, she was sitting there, with a smirk on her lips. No doubt, she was waiting to see a baffled look on his face. But he would not give her the satisfaction. Admittedly, he was shocked to see Kuratsuchi sitting behind the desk. He hadn't been informed yet that she returned. Naturally, he did not display his shock, he just smiled and entered the office before speaking casually. That was a rather unique welcome into this village. If I didn't know better, I'd think you organized a march just to entice a reaction from me. Kuratsuchi waited until the Emperor was settled before speaking. There was nothing but contempt in her eyes. You seem to handle it well, nevertheless. My childhood was colored with such displays of affection in the hidden leaf. Looks of hatred and people calling me names mean nothing to me. I honestly don't care if people hate me. At least in this case, I can reason why. There would be no reasonable person who would not be angry at a person who killed their loved ones. This reasoning made Kuratsuchi frown deeply. What kind of person thought that way? What kind of an emperor was he? Didn't he have pride in his name and status? Was he simply just going to allow some people to talk to him in any way they pleased? Heartless bastard, Kuratsuchi murmured. Not the worst thing I have been called, but I will not tolerate that from you. Kuratsuchi narrowed her eyes. What are you going to do about it? Naruto smiled. He hadn't expected things to be easy with Iwagakure. These people were stubborn. But the appearance of Kuratsuchi did complicate things. There were still many questions regarding her disappearance. Anoki had not been playing tricks on him that day when he demanded to know of her whereabouts. He genuinely didn't know where she had disappeared off to and if she was alive or not. He raised his index finger and shook it 3 times. Killing you is simple for me, and the same about laying waste to this village. Did you know I can expel oxygen from this room? The effects affect me as well, but I have had much better training, he said, and then snapped his fingers, releasing a burst of chakra. Kuratsuchi started gasping for air within seconds. She had her right hand on her throat and her left fist slamming her desk. She could not breathe. There was no oxygen. She struggled violently, trying to find air to breathe. Her struggle caused her to fall from her chair and down on the floor. She was suffocating. Her eyes were wide and in shock. She was slowly dying. She could feel it in her body. Why was there no one even coming to save her? How did things even come to this point? She had not defied death just to die so pathetically in her office with her people watching. What had the Emperor even done? Naruto snapped his fingers once more and everything returned to normal. Shinobi immediately flashed around him and summoned to Kuratsuchi and helped her to her chair. She was breathing heavily, hands around her chest. After wiping some sweat off her forehead, she calmed her breathing and glared at the Emperor. For a moment, she had thought she was going to die by suffocation. I'd put a barrier around the space. We Uzumaki specialize in the art of sealing after all. Putting barriers happens to be something I am very good at. I was making barriers when I was little to hide certain things I did, the Emperor said before asking. Will you behave? Don't think it isn't impossible for me to do something like that in the village. I just need to erect a barrier large enough to cover this entire village and then make it happen. Kuratsuchi did not respond to this. What do you want? Iwa Shinobi did us some good by destroying buildings in the wave and killing some people. I'm a little displeased by that action and did think about coming here to do the same, but I have been counseled against such a move. In any case, I do expect you to pay for damages. No, we will not do that. We will take it from the funding you receive from the Earth Lord. Of course, we might just take everything while we are at it, the Emperor responded in a flat tone. Bastard! The name-calling is becoming boring, Naruto said. We did not attack this village when we were at war with you, and you cannot reasonably say that we did not have the strength to do so. But you went a step too far, and I am not going to overlook it. I had even entertained the idea of making you kiss the ground in the wave. But that would be a step too far in your humiliation. Payment will be just fine in one way or the other. We will get it, and there is nothing you can do to stop it, unless you decide to kill the Earth Daimyo. We will make arrangements, Kuratsuchi said through gritted teeth, her glare murderous. Excellent. I want to think that war is over between us. But it will not be so until you admit that you have lost, and you surrender. We indeed lost, but we will not surrender, as we have already lost. Must you always be difficult in everything? We will not be bullied into doing anything. We are more than capable of doing anything we imagine as possible, but we won't be going that far. We simply want you to understand that we are superior and come to an agreement that you will not be provoking a fight with us. Should you do anything contrary to that, we will erase this village. Our airship was developed for this simple purpose of causing havoc. Threats, Kuratsuchi said. We will arrange for the agreement. Good. Naruto smiled. Then, what happened to you? I'm curious about your appearance. You have both arms, but I cut off one of arms and turned it to ash. The other arm you have has a different chakra signature to yours. Where did you get it? If Orochimaru was still alive, I would say it was him, but he is dead and I know where Kabuto has been this entire time. Kuratsuchi smirked. Now there is something you don't know, she said happily. I will not forget that you killed my grandfather and humiliated this village. But for the moment, picking a fight with you will only lead to my destruction. That is a change of tone. Were you being difficult just to see how far I was willing to go? Naruto asked curiously. If so, you have returned slightly different. And given this, I cannot trust that you will not try to stab me in the back when you see an opportunity. I will nevertheless still enter an agreement with you. I do not trust you either, so the feeling is mutual. Naruto smiled. It does seem that playing the role of being emperor will not be so dull, after all. Entertain me, Kuratsuchi, and I will find out who gave you that arm. He then stood up. We shall talk soon. But next time, please ready my money. Uzumaki. Naruto stared at Noroi with an expressionless mask on his face. He was silent for more than a minute. Finding Kuratsuchi in the stone had not been according to the plan. There was something he did not know. He didn't always know everything. He had always considered such a possibility when operating. But now that he was facing it, it posed a dilemma for him. There were many questions that needed to be asked. He could speak to Kabuto. Orochimaru had possibly known more about this world more than anyone else. Yet, Kabuto could not be brought into the loop of things unless he entered the frame willingly. You had the mission to find Kuratsuchi, Noroi. You failed this mission. You were supposed to find her and dispose of her. Why was I the one to see her waiting for me in the stone? We had searched for her within her village but became certain that she was not there. We were forced to move out to look elsewhere. Apparently, we were looking at the wrong place. That doesn't please me. The fact is that Kuratsuchi is very much alive and with a backer that we do not know. Unfortunately, there is nothing that I can tell you that will please you, Your Majesty. You didn't find anything in your search? Noroi shook his head. No. There was nothing. No one even saw how she disappeared from that battlefield. Whoever took her knows how to cover their tracks. Naruto was silent. He hoped this did not come to trouble the future plans. Of course, he did think that Setsu could be involved. But he didn't want to draw any conclusion without evidence. Setsu was a suspect. But they needed motives behind the movement, and they could not rule out any other forces operating in the shadows. And I thought we had mastered the art of lurking in the shadows, the Emperor said before turning to Yoshino, who had appeared moments ago. What do you think? It could be Black Setsu, but whatever it is something we cannot possibly overlook. Kuratsuchi has always hated you since she was captured in her attempt to assassinate you. Her hatred was the result of the suffering she suffered at the hands of Guren. Perhaps we shouldn't have gone that far. That is unlike you, Your Majesty. Kuratsuchi got what she deserved. The fact that she is alive is the result of something we did not see happening. She should be dead by now. But she is alive, that is a fact. We must decide how we deal with her existence because she will definitely try to backstab us in the future as long as she lives. Then we must think of a way to kill her, Naruto said in a measured tone. I will think of something, Yoshino said. She must be removed. But not now. I will think of something clean. If death is not an option, controlling her should work. But that would raise suspicions given her contempt for you is not a secret. We have the tools to control her, but such killing her is the best option. Fine, Naruto said. In the meantime, Noroi, have someone disposable keep an eye on her. We will proceed as planned on our agenda. Go to Guren to help set up things for intelligence, and decide how you will communicate with all other nations. Yes, Your Majesty, Nora said before disappearing from the throne room. The first suspect, of course, is Black Setsu. But what would be the motive there? Kuratsuchi has not the power to be used in gathering the Jinchuriki. And that is something she would most definitely not go along with unless she doesn't know about it. What is it? Is it his way of trying to disrupt things for us? We do not care about peace. Even if Kuratsuchi disrupts things, nothing will change for us. As long as the Empire stands, we march on. But there is a powerful man amongst us who does care about peace, and if he thinks we are not trying to achieve it, he might be tempted. Even if he does not turn on us, he could still try to do things on his own and we would eventually clash. Naruto frowned deeply. That is something we must deal with, he said. Kyumo doesn't seem like it will give us problems. But of course, we must be cautious about it. Kuratsuchi's contempt is however clear. And we might not be able to solve it. Then she must definitely die, Naruto said. He tilted his head slightly and rested it on the palm of his right hand. How would we go about it then? We must be able to do it without drawing attention to ourselves. I don't think we can escape without being suspect. Then I trust you will come with something I will like. No one must know about it, aside from Noroi. Of course, Your Majesty, Yoshino said. You will have guests from Konoha in the coming days. It must be Shikamaru, Naruto said. 3 days later. Being in the throne room hadn't been a pleasant experience before, and it was still not. Shikamaru could not get over the feeling that he was looking at something else not human with Naruto's imposing form on the throne. The fame he has earned himself from exploits in the battlefield do make it a little difficult. And to think this was the person Konoha had dismissed. He would have become something greater in the leaf. But what could not be reversed occurred, and it was now time to talk about the future. He followed Yugao's example, who knelt before the throne. "Your Majesty," Yugao greeted, while looking straight into those cold eyes. "Yugao, I was not expecting to see you. When I was told there would be guests, I expected him, not you. Certain arrangements led me to come with him," Yugao said. "You don't look too happy to see me. It would make the purpose of my visit very difficult to see through. I have nothing against you. While not often, I'm not in a good mood due to certain events. My mind takes time to fully grasp certain things. No doubt something bothering you would have to do with the wave country. You spent too much time developing the country. Business into Uzumaki came through the wave. We had even concluded that you depended heavily on the success of the wave to make Uzumaki economically sustainable," Shikamaru reasoned. Naruto's eyes shifted towards the Nara. "That was before we came out, but indeed, we spent too much effort in making the wave what it is today. The daimyo of the water country had even felt threatened by its growth that he had tried to take measures to curb it. Even so, if there had been too much damage, it would have most likely crippled the empire from a financial point of things." Naruto did not deny this. That was true. If the wave had been heavily damaged and the infrastructure was crippled, it would have been disastrous for them. The railways had already been built along with train stations. It was only the trains themselves that were outstanding. If that had been finished and destroyed, they would have suffered greatly. "We managed to stop the situation from becoming disastrous. I doubt you came here to talk about the wave country. You already passed by it. You must have seen that we have started making it whole again. You have moved a bit too quickly. We thought we would offer our assistance, but from what I saw, it doesn't look like it will be needed," Shikamaru said before lamenting. "That is one point removed. I would not have accepted your help either way. The wave isn't that poor that it would not be able to fund things. Yugao, you said you had something. Konoha is offering me to you as a sign of goodwill. This is the result of us no longer willing to force you into a marriage with anyone in the Leaf. I have ceased being a kunoichi of the Leaf and I'm ready to serve the Uzumaki." Naruto stared at her for a long minute before responding. "No doubt to spy on us. The thought did come to mind," Yugao admitted. "But if you were to become a kunoichi serving under me, it would be impossible for you to betray us or even spy on us." Yugao did not hide her frown. "Somehow that doesn't make me very comfortable. I'll not nurse your feelings. But I will accept you. You will find out that you will not be able to act against us. But you won't be in this village. You'll be sent to the Sound. I am building my castle there." Shikamaru realized something. His father had made an oversight in something. The Uzumaki were Fuinjutsu masters. Of course, they would have seals in place to ensure that Yugao does not do anything against them. There were seals that kept you from talking about certain things already at use. These people could do far worse. At least he had cancelled that mission. "Fuinjutsu," Shikamaru said with a slightly shake of his head. "As Yugao-san has said, Konoha wishes to draw a new agreement with you. I came here for that purpose and I have already been given what Konoha wants in the new agreement." "Tomorrow," Naruto said. "Naori." The redhead flashed beside the throne. "Your Majesty. Call Haku to send Shikamaru to a hotel. Give Yugao the seal and then take her to the Sound. Tell Guren that she is a former Konoha Umbu and she can make use of her any way she pleases, but she must be given duties that fit her skills." "Hi!"